Marilyn.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Marilyn. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Okay. We bought a suite from a company last June. It's the third suite we've actually bought from them. We bought the last one 3 years ago, which is still fine. And probably after only a matter of weeks, maybe a couple of months at the most, I noticed the cushion on my husband's side starting to sink at the back. They're quite firm, comfortable cushions. That's why we chose it. So I told him to sit more in the centre of the cushion so it wouldn't sink, but obviously he was near the arm, so we both sat each end at the arm. Then I noticed mine was going as well, sinking in the same way. Started putting cushions underneath me to support me because I've had back problems on and off. And so I decided to contact the company about a month ago.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt you. Can we just go back a little bit just so I make sure I'm clear on the basics? So what was the date of purchase?
The date of purchase was January, but because of
January 2021?
Yeah.
Okay, so I presume you'd chosen this suite previously, had you? Because all the shops were shut then.
2020, was it? Where are we? No, 2020 this
2020.
was. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
yeah,
so
2020.
Okay, and how much was it?
2,150.
Okay, and what furniture were you getting for 2,150 quid?
Well, there are two cushions on, but you could seat three, so two two-seaters.
Okay, fine. And when was it you first started to notice there was an issue with the cushion on your husband's side?
Probably 6 weeks to 2 months max.
Of this year?
No, after we got it. So we got it it actually arrived in June, and then probably July, say.
Oh, okay. Right,
Yeah.
so hang on. So you ordered it in January 2020.
Yeah, but because of the COVID, it was delayed. We didn't know it was coming from China.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it finally arrived in June of 2020, and about 6 weeks later you noticed one of the cushions on your husband's side starting to... And how would you describe it? Was it sinking or sagging?
Yeah, I just noticed a big dip in the back where his bottom was. He's not that big, his average weight. And then I noticed mine going as well on my side. I weigh 9 stone, so not that should matter particularly. So, yeah, I contacted the company and they said, we'll get a technician round, an independent one, I think, I don't know, to have a look. And he came and examined it and he said, well, there's no manufacturing fault. And I said, no, I can understand that, but there's obviously the cushions are inferior. And he sat on them and he said, yes, they're definitely sunk. You need to go back to the company. So I went back to the company and they said, well, as there's no manufacturing fault, if you have any cushions replaced, you'll have to pay for it. And if we send anyone else out from our company, you'll have to pay for that.
But surely there is a manufacturing fault if the components of the sofa, i.e. the cushions, have not been manufactured to a reasonable quality.
No.
In that they just start sinking after 6 weeks of use,
then
I call that a manufacturing defect.
Well, it is a defect. And I did say that the salesman didn't advise us. We chose it because of the comfort and how it was. I said if the salesman had told us that after a short time the cushions would actually not be like that. In her reply to me, she said, I've spoken to my manager and he says this is exactly the manner in which we'd expect these cushions to behave. And I said, well, we weren't advised that at the time of purchase, otherwise we wouldn't have bought them.
And is it noticeable? Because I've been sent a photo from my team and I can't see what we're talking about.
No, you can't because it's dark and shadowy. But if you actually sit on the cushion, you can feel it straight away. You compare to if you sit on the part that was like it was when we got it, and then you sit on the other bit, the bit sinks right back. You slide down.
Yes, but here is the crucial bit. Of course, any furniture that you sit on will not be as firm as it was when you first bought it 6 weeks after you've been sitting on it. So you would expect that there will be some softening.
Oh, yeah.
It's just whether or not that is classed as reasonable softening or not.
Well, the technician sat and he said, yeah, there's a definite, and my husband's side is far worse. It's just like sitting in a bit of a hole, really.
And are you able to actually take the cushions off?
No, it's all fixed. It's all fixed furniture.
So you can't. And were you given any advice when you purchased it in terms of how to maintain the cushions? Are you supposed to, bang them or fluff them up or anything?
It's all moulded in. It looks like separate cushions, but they're stuck. You can't take them off or do anything like that.
Right. Okay.
And as I said, we've had other furniture from them, and we've never complained.
So they're saying to you it's perfectly normal and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, they're not interested. And I've looked at the reviews on there's a review site, and they're all saying, everyone's saying the same, that they just don't want to help you once you've bought the furniture or whatever you've bought. They don't want to know.
Well, unfortunately, and regular listeners will have heard me banging on about this quite a lot. Unfortunately, so much of the furniture that is now sold in some of these stores is absolute rubbish.
Absolutely. This is a well-known large store.
Yeah, but to be honest, most of them do the same. You know, you go into their lovely showrooms and you look at all this lovely furniture and you think, oh, that looks nice, and you sit on it and it's so gorgeous.
Yep.
If you saw how the majority of that furniture was actually put together underneath the lovely looking fabric, you would be horrified. So much of the furniture that is now on the market in these lovely showrooms is an absolute load of old rubbish.
But the thing is, it's you have so little choice of where to get furniture now. You know, these big places have taken over and there's hardly anywhere left.
Yes, that is absolutely right. I mean, the simple fact is, this furniture, from what you're describing, is poorly made, very cheap components.
Yeah, but looks lovely.
Oh, I'm sure it looked lovely originally.
Yes.
But I remember going to see, years ago, a comedian. I won't go into too much detail, but a comedian who did the voiceover for a well-known furniture company.
Yeah.
And part of his patter in his act was about saying how pleased he was he no longer did the voiceover because he didn't have to try and pretend that the furniture that this company was selling was anything other than the cheap rubbish it was.
Oh, God.
It's just, cheap foam.
It is.
That is cheap foam that is stapled onto chipboard, and then they put this lovely fabric over the top. It all looks very smart, but underneath it's a load of rubbish. My advice to anybody listening to the programme, when you're looking at furniture, is firstly, find out exactly where it's manufactured. Ask the question, where is this furniture actually made? A lot of them will say things like, oh, it's Italian leather.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it is not Italian leather. It's Chinese leather that happens to go via Italy on the route to the UK, and they then call it Italian leather. Okay. And a lot of the furniture, you want to find out what kind of wood it's made of. What's the structure? Is it made from hardwood or softwood? If possible, ask the salespeople if they can show you any photographs of the structure of the furniture. And if they're funny about what it's put together with, the chances are it's made with a combination of cheap plywood, chipboard, and even in some cases, hardened cardboard. Yeah. You know the curved arms that you get on some sofas? Yep. A lot of it now is made of hardened cardboard. Yep. So, again, it has a lovely shape when it's in the showroom. Once you've knelt on it a few times, getting up from the sofa, and you've put your body weight on it, and the whole thing started to collapse, you realise what a load of rubbish you've just bought.
Yep.
Would you like me to go and have a word with this company for you?
I certainly would. That would be fantastic if you could, because I've tried everything, but
okay, fine.
Don't want to know.
Well, let's see what we can do. I'm going to pass you back to the team. Okay. We'll get some detail, and I will call them for you this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your help.
Roy pays for cover with a utility company just in case anything goes wrong with his drains or his plumbing. In October of 2020, he called this company out because there was a problem with his close-coupled loo.
I said, oh, yes, I have to take it apart. I've got to put a new inside, the whole complete works in it. He explained we got quite a bit of time on it, flushed it, and I said, OK, that's fine, that's very nice, thank you very much, and away he went. Well, a couple of days later, I had to get him back again because the flushing handle jammed up so you couldn't flush it properly. And then in February, I happened to notice there was water leaking down the back. It only leaked out when you flushed it. So they sent another plumber around from the same place, but not the same man. And he found that the cistern, where it bolts on and joins to the pan, it's got a big rubber donut in there, which is about 5 inches diameter and about ½ inch thick. So when you tighten it down, that pinches up. He said he found that when you tighten it up, it wouldn't pull down tight enough. This is the wrong donut, it's too thin. So anyway, I pulled the floor covering up. It soaked into the chipboard. The floor needs replacing.
Well, Roy's not at all happy. He's waiting for the company, or he certainly was when he first came to my programme, to decide whether or not they were prepared to sort his bathroom floor out. Well, I had a conversation with them and they quickly decided what they were going to do. Roy's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Roy.
Hello, John. How are you?
Hello. Yes, I'm well, thank you. So the company concerned is Centrica. This is a British gas policy that you have. And they came out, they said, we are really sorry for the issue Roy has had, and we are putting things right. We've spoken to him and we're arranging for repairs to his floor to take place. We're pleased that he's happy with this. Well, indeed, when I spoke to you last, things were starting to look up. I gather there have been some more developments. What's the latest, Roy?
Right. The solid bit of the floor has all been done. They've done that, a very nice job of it. The people that are coming to put the covering down are going to be coming next Monday. They were due to come this Monday because it was bank holiday. So they're going to come next Monday, and fingers crossed, that should be the end of it.
And what are they going to actually put on the floor?
They're going to put a cushion floor down.
Right, like a lino.
Yeah. So that I told, because originally they were going to put the same covering, and I said no, I want cushion floors, because if this ever happens again, the water will run on top of the thing. At least I'll know, and I can get something done about it. And they said, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay." And in the end, they agreed they would do that. So
right. And have you actually chosen the floor?
Yes, I've done that.
Right. Okay. So you know what it's going to look like.
Oh yeah. Yes, it'll be it's a grey. Looks like grey tiles.
Right. Okay. But we're slightly delayed because of the bank holiday this week.
Well, yeah, because what happened was when they got back, apparently the people that ordered it, they got back in and said, yes, we can get that. They have to order the material. But because of the bank holiday, it was late coming in, so we've agreed to come next Monday.
Fine. Okay, can you keep me in the loop and just let me know what happens?
Right, I'll contact you again as soon as they've gone, if you like, or when they get here, whatever.
If you could, please. Yes, Roy, I will not give the company the horn until I've got that confirmation the floor's all fixed. Remember Duncan? Duncan was telling me he purchased a special floor cleaner for his mum. It was specifically designed for hard floors, and it cost just under 160 quid. Well, that was in November 2018. And after a couple of months, well, his mum noticed there was a problem with it.
The cleaning solution stopped feeding down to the rollers, so it wouldn't clean the floor. Went back to the retailer. They're very good, and they swapped out and gave me a replacement machine. Just before Christmas 2020, my mum mentioned that the floor cleaner had stopped working again, similar problem to before. I went back and they told me to contact the manufacturer, and they were saying it's now outside of the warranty and they want £96 to repair it. They're saying that it's exceeded its average life. Well, what is the average life? And I've had two of them, and they've both failed under the 27 months that they're seeming to indicate is the average life.
Well, when Duncan purchased this floor cleaner, the product information didn't suggest that this product would only last for less than 27 months. He says if he had been notified of that at the point of purchase, he wouldn't have gone ahead and bought it. Why would you? Why would you spend 160 quid on a floor cleaner that's going to last you about 2 years? I wouldn't. But there we go. Duncan has purchased this floor cleaner from Amazon, and I've been off to speak to Amazon. Duncan's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Duncan.
Good morning, Jonathan. Good morning.
And I'm afraid you're not going to like their response.
Right.
Amazon have come back. They have said the manufacturer's warranty on this product has expired, and unfortunately on this occasion we will not be able to offer a refund.
Okay.
Have a good Easter, they say.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, and to be honest with you, and I have experienced this in the past with Amazon, they have in the past suggested that after a period of time they are not going to be held liable. You now have two options.
Mm-hmm.
Option number one is that you draw a line under it, and you recognise that the product has frustratingly not lasted very long, but you move on. Option number two, and this all depends on how much you're prepared for a fight. Option number 2 would be that you write a letter to Amazon and you make it quite clear that under the Consumer Rights Act of 2015, you do not believe that this product is of reasonable quality and has lasted for a reasonable amount of time. And therefore, you are now going to organise for a report to be carried out on the product to determine why it has failed in such a short amount of time. And you will then expect Amazon to either reimburse you the full amount for the product and indeed the cost of having the report carried out. Alternatively, you'll pursue them through the small claims court.
Okay, thank you.
What are you inclined to do, or would you rather have some time to think about it before you commit one way or the other?
Quite honestly, the problem I have got is that there is nobody who will actually look at this machine for me that Amazon will recognise. The manufacturer fix them on
it's
a
not down to
basis.
Listen, it's not down to Amazon to determine who they are prepared to accept a report from. It would be down to the courts. So as long as you have got someone who is suitably qualified and is considered to be an expert in this particular field, then whether Amazon recognise them or not, it really doesn't come into it. It would have to be a judge in a court that would look at that report and say, yes, OK, I trust this person and I trust their professional judgment.
Okay. I will have to think about that. But can I ask, do I have anywhere to go where Amazon have told me in writing that this product will only last 27 months and it hasn't?
What do you mean? Is there anywhere to go? I mean, the only place you can go is the courts now.
Right, okay. Amazon haven't commented on
I've told you what Amazon has said. Amazon have simply said, and as I say, I'm not particularly surprised by this because I've had it in the past with Amazon where they have simply said, product is out of its warranty, we're not prepared to do any more.
Okay.
And I'm sure the vast majority of customers, they are disappointed, they nod their head and they move on. There will always be some customers, though, who will not accept that and will not allow a company with all of its might, such as Amazon, to simply dismiss their rights under the Consumer Rights Act in this way, as some people will see it, and will pursue them further through the small claims court.
Okay.
Now, I don't know which of those two camps you're likely to fall into, and it may well be at this stage you'd rather not commit on air.
I will write another letter to Amazon, I think, though I have already spoken to their managing directors of this, and see where we go from there. I think that's all I can do. Whether it is worth a big fight over £160, I don't know, but I think that's what Amazon banks on. I am disappointed with them because generally in the past, other things I've had issues with them, they've sorted out, but they're obviously being a bit more stubborn on this one.
From what I am told, from people who order from Amazon, Amazon very often will resolve matters for customers in the early stages after purchase. But certainly, as I say, I have had experiences in the past when a product no longer falls under the 1-year manufacturer's guarantee, where Amazon will not accept that the customer has not the customer has not had a reasonable amount of life from the product, and they put up a fight. Now, I would imagine a lot of customers just kind of are very disappointed and just accept it. If it were me, and I can't tell you what to do, if it were me, I would not accept it. If it were me, I would be the one customer that Amazon quickly realise is going to be an absolute blooming nightmare for them, and I would sue them. On the basis that I may well lose as well as win. But I recognise that I am someone that relishes a battle. Other people sometimes don't.
No. Okay.
So only you can decide what you want to do. And of course, if you do take them to court, there is always the chance you can lose as well as win.
Indeed.
And for everybody else listening to the programme, just be aware this is the situation that Duncan now finds himself in, having purchased what I consider to be a quite expensive floor cleaner for 160 quid that has only lasted just over 2 years. I mean, I wouldn't be very happy with that, and I'm sure Duncan isn't either. But Amazon say, as far as they're concerned, they're not prepared to do anything more.
No, okay.
Duncan, please.
It did have a 2-year warranty on it, but it wasn't a year as well. But no, I take on board what you're saying.
It's down to you now. Are you going to fight them or not? And only you can make that judgment call.
Thank you. Okay.
Duncan, listen, all the best. Please keep me posted. Let me know what you decide. Remember Amanda? Amanda came to me last week. She was telling me that her mum had decided to update her Regency-style sofa. Originally, she was going to have the sofa completely recovered, but because it's a bit awkward to get out of the house, the company recommended loose-fitting covers instead.
A representative measured up, and my mum chose some striped fabric, a 1 centimetre striped Regency fabric. And then she was advised at the time that due to the bow of the sofa, the style of it, there could be some pleating, but she wasn't advised how much or where it would actually be on the sofa. In total, it's £742, so it wasn't a cheap option. But when the covers arrived and they were fitted by the representative, you could see there on the top of the bow of the sofa, there are 4 large pleats that have been machined at the top, and they're all facing the same direction. So it completely ruins the effects and distorts the stripes. The arms do not fit flush to the sofa, and there's a lot of puckering around the arms. You know, it was a lot of money, and it should have been something that's quite a centrepiece in the room, is now covered up with a throw.
Well, both Amanda and her mum have been back to the company, but they were not prepared to do anything about it. Well, I've had a look at the photos, as indeed have many of you, because I shared the photos on my Twitter page, and many of you were absolutely appalled at how they looked. And it's such a shame because they could have looked quite smart, but it felt as if they hadn't been made to the right size. Well, Amanda's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Amanda. So, in terms of the actual fabric, in the right home, I think it would have looked very, very nice on that particular sofa.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they just look, to be honest, the covers to me just look as if they've been made too big. They're saggy, they don't fit nicely, and as for the pleats on the back of the sofa, they just look dreadful. Right old mess. And as I say, lots of people who've had a look on Twitter, in fact, I don't think there was a single person that looked at the photos and responded to say, oh, I'd be perfectly happy with that, it looks nice. Everyone was saying that looks dreadful. So when I went and had a word with this company and explained the situation, they came back initially to say that they were investigating and they were going to be in touch with you. They then came back to me on Thursday afternoon to say, we just wanted to drop you a quick line to say we have spoken to Amanda regarding her mother's order, and we have agreed that we will refund the customer once we are in receipt of the covers. She's happy with the resolution. So I presume that's all been agreed with you, has it?
It has indeed, yes. It's all been agreed. They did put to us some alternative options, but the best option, I think, on the for this resolution was really to take the refund. So hopefully they'll be contacting my mum this week, arranging for the covers to be returned, and then once they've received them, then they will give us a full refund.
And did they mention what had gone wrong with this?
No, they were still quite adamant that a lot of it was to do with the dressing. If we just kept pushing down the covers, then they would look different. But the covers were, sort of machined in that way. So all the amount of pushing and pulling,
I was going to say, you
can't any different.
How are you supposed to push and pull them to make the arms actually fit the furniture? Because it was very clear they were too loose, too saggy.
They would, exactly. And then they offered an option of actually placing some foam underneath to sort of pad it out a bit better. But that wouldn't have been. Well, it wasn't what the service that my mum had paid for, and and to try and do that, to try and get the desired look, just didn't feel right. So Mum in the end settled. We requested if we could have our money back, and they said yes. Once we've returned the covers, then that would be fine.
I have to be honest, and it looks like we were talking a little earlier about furniture and the fact that so many companies now, unfortunately, sell utter rubbish. They just don't, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, make furniture in the way that they used to. Good quality, long-lasting furniture. Now, your mum has clearly got in that sofa a good quality, classic piece of furniture. It's not going to look right in everyone's home. I don't think it would look right in my home. But I'm sure in your mum's house it looks very nice and it's in keeping. I would strongly urge her, if that furniture is still really good quality, get it properly reupholstered by a really good upholsterer rather than loose fitting covers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that now she's looking at doing. But as I say, certainly it just wasn't the desired effect with the covers. But we are so grateful to you and your show, and for your listeners for the comments that they made, because it really sort of, spurred us on to believe that we weren't just complaining over something minor. They really were quite unacceptable.
Completely unacceptable. I'd be absolutely furious if I'd spent all that money on those covers. You were quite right to pursue it, and I hope that lessons have been learnt. Now, look, I'm going to thank them very much indeed. When are you due to get the money back?
As soon as they receive the covers back. So they're supposed to be sending out, contacting my mum this week, and then sending out some packaging for her to return them. And then once they've received them back, they said they would then do the full refund. Okay.
Well, Sam has a 4x4 and was looking for some second-hand parts for it. He needed some side steps to make it easier to get up into the vehicle and some headlights. He found a company selling these items on social media.
A couple of weeks ago, I thought I'd purchase some side steps for my car. The price for them was £100 with £24 postage, which was fairly reasonable, I would have thought. He phoned me back up about half an hour later saying, would I like anything else? He received the payment and everything. I asked if he got any lights, some facelift lights, to make it look a bit newer. They were a little too expensive for me, so he said, well, we can sort something out regarding that. So he set up a credit plan. All he had to do was set up an account.
Where are your steps and your lights?
Well, your guess is as good as mine, Jonathan.
Well, almost 2 weeks later, he still hasn't received the items, so where on earth are they? Well, I'm very concerned. I very much doubt Sam will ever see the parts that he has ordered, but he's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Sam.
Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
Am I to presume that over the Easter weekend you still haven't received those parts?
That's right. They still haven't turned up.
No, and I don't think you're going to get them either. No. Doing a little bit of digging around, and I find this extremely frustrating because, unfortunately, I'm in a position where I'm going to have to break you some very bad news, but I'm not even going to be able to identify the people or the company behind this scam, to be honest, that you have got caught up in. Let me just explain. You purchased these products apparently from a limited liability company. A limited liability company that went out of business some time ago and therefore are not trading. A limited liability company that sounds very similar to some other limited liability companies that are still trading and are absolutely nothing to do with this particular outfit that you've got involved in. The man who you transferred the money to, his name I cannot trace in any way to any of the companies with a similar sounding name, although it should be said the person whose account you've transferred money to, there is somebody in that particular part of the world with that name who has been in trouble with the police previously. but I cannot definitively make a connection between that person and your case. So, unfortunately, I think you've been scammed. I think the fact that you've come across this company where they have set it up to look and sound like a genuine company, and in fact, for most people, when you start to look it up, when you start to look the company name up, you'll probably come across a genuine company with a similar sounding name. So if you do your research, the chances are you may mistakenly think, oh yeah, this company seems okay. They look to be genuine and bona fide. It's only when you start hammering home the detail of the company name that you recognise that the company, in fact, was dissolved over a year ago. So, Sam, I'm afraid I do not believe you're likely to receive the parts. And I do not believe, as you've transferred the money by bank transfer, you are likely to be able to get your money back. How much have you lost in total?
It would have been £270.
I think you've lost 270 quid, I'm afraid.
I think it's going to be a lesson learned.
I'm afraid it is. You've always got to be exceptionally careful when you're buying anything from a company that you've never had dealings with before that you find on the internet. Times that by 100 when you come across them through social media. And always, 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 when you are doing your research on a company before you decide to go ahead with the purchase, spend plenty of time doing proper research independently. So look up the name of the company, look for reviews. If they are a limited liability company, check out who are the directors. Is it the same name as the person that you're dealing with? Have they been around for a long time? In fact, when you look them up on Companies House, does it transpire that that company was dissolved? All of these things would then ring alarm bells. Then secondly, when a company says to you that they don't accept card payments, they will only allow you to transfer money from your bank account to theirs, that should be a humongous alarm bell ringing in your head. Why would a genuine company want you to transfer money in such a risky way? Why would they not have a card payment machine? It's not normal. I'm afraid, as I say, I can't even name the company that you've dealt with because I suspect that other people will wrongly associate genuine companies with this particular group, and the chances are they've got nothing to do with that company name anyway. I'm so sorry, Sam.
No, thank you for all your help, Jonathan.
Well, I just wish you luck in terms of trying to source the parts. I wouldn't spend too much time dwelling on this. Draw a line under it. Don't have anything more to do with them if they try and contact you. The chances are they may well try and contact you again, and the chances are they may try and get some more money out of you. Don't fall for it again, will you?
No.
Okay. Robert is on the line. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
Hello, Robert. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Okay. I bought an Android smartwatch at a cost of $34.95, and when it arrived, my wife, it was for my wife, and my wife decided it was far too big. And I went to the company and asked about their returns policy, and they said it was store credit only. Well, that wasn't really a problem, so I thought I'd just exchange it for a black one. The one that my wife ordered was pink. I didn't much like that. We then had a bit of a confusion over the company name, and a few emails went back and forth. And then I returned a watch, and I got proof of delivery from the post office.
Why did your wife want an Android watch?
It's also a heart monitor, and she suffers from tachycardia.
Right.
So that's why she wanted it.
Okay. And so this watch was going to monitor her heart?
Yes. Yes, okay. Among other things, but that's what it does. That's what she wanted it for.
Right. The only thing is, was it a good one? Because it doesn't sound very expensive for a smartwatch, and obviously what you don't want is to end up with a cheap one that's not really monitoring her heart properly, and yet it's giving you either something falsely to worry about or something falsely to feel positive about.
No, I think that's true of the expensive ones as well, to be honest.
Is it? Okay, I don't know. I like a good old-fashioned watch myself.
Yeah, one that tells the time, right?
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, I've got confirmation of order, which was the 4th of December, and now we're into April, and my last email was sent on the 10th of February, when I complained about how long it was taking, and I've heard nothing since.
But how long what was taking?
The exchange.
But I thought you said they were going to give you a store credit. You then changed your mind to have another one.
No, they're going to give me a store credit.
Yeah.
So I wrote to them and said that I'd like to exchange it for a black one.
Oh, okay. At that point, you decided you wanted to do that. So, and what have they said in terms of where's your black one?
They haven't said anything at all. They say they're very busy. The pandemic's caused all kind of work problems, and staff are working from home.
Right.
And I've heard nothing since the 23rd of January.
Do you actually want this watch?
Not really.
Well, I mean, I was going to say it depends what you like, but I mean, do you like gadgets and gizmos and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I play on a computer quite a lot.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, I don't play. I fiddle about with it, trying to make things work.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, I can certainly go and have a word with them, and I can find out where your Android watch is. I just don't think it's probably going to be very good, because for 35 quid, I mean, I know, having spoken to people that have got smartwatches, they've spent 200 quid on them.
Yes, I know they have.
Not 35 quid. So £35 is not going to buy you a very good smartwatch. But, if you've agreed with the company that you'll have it, let me go and have a word with them. Let's see if they are prepared to give you a refund. If not, can they please honour what they have said they were going to give you? Have they had the pink one back yet?
Yes, I got that. I got a proof of purchase from the post office.
Fine.
Proof of delivery, sorry.
Okay, fine. Hang on there. Let me pass you back to the team. We'll get some detail and I'll go and have a conversation with them this afternoon. He purchased a telescopic ladder in 2018, costing just under £85. But she's been left feeling very disappointed with it.
I kept the ladder in the garage, used it possibly 2 or 3 times. And then in September 2020, my son-in-law used the ladder to access the roof space in the garage. As he climbed the ladder, a couple of the rungs literally gave way.
Oh dear.
My daughter and I were at the bottom, said it was no problem. I wrote to the company to advise them of the poor quality of the item. I would have expected it to be more robust and last for many years.
Well, of course. I mean, a ladder should be of reasonable quality and it should last for a reasonable amount of time. And unless you are a tradesperson where you're going to be using that ladder on a regular basis, for the vast majority of us, we buy a ladder and it sits there in the shed for the few times a year when we might have cause to climb up somewhere. And that's exactly the situation for Maggie. She said it's only been used about 6 times. And it's completely unreasonable that 2 of the rungs on it, after using it 6 times, would have snapped. She said her son-in-law, who was trying to use it, is not a heavy man. So it sounds as if it's a very poor quality. Well, I've had an absolute nightmare trying to deal with this company on Maggie's behalf. However, hopefully we have finally had some success. Maggie's back on the JVS show. Hello, Maggie.
Good morning.
Hello, Maggie. Now, this company, as I say, have been a nightmare. You can only get through on the phone. You have to hang on the phone listening to hold music for ages and ages. And then in my experience, you then get through to someone that is unable to put you through to a manager, who doesn't seem to have any understanding of consumer law, who promises that you'll get a phone call back, only for you to not hear anything at all. And at the tail end of last week, I'd had enough of it. I was getting pretty annoyed, to be honest with you. And when I finally got through to someone, I said, right, I've had enough. I have phoned you numerous times. I have left numerous messages. Nobody's called me back. I haven't had a response. I've had inaccurate information from members of staff as per what your obligation is as a retailer. I'm now going to identify you on the programme. I'm going to identify your company. And I gave them an opportunity to respond. I said, I will be naming you on the programme on Tuesday. Well, Maggie, it was as if by magic. Suddenly, the company wanted to speak to me. So I had a conversation on Thursday afternoon with one of the managers at this firm. To be fair to him, he was very apologetic for the experience that I'd had. It would appear they use, he described them as agents who answer their phones but don't necessarily work for the company. And said that I had been talking to one of their agents, and obviously the message had not been passed on to someone in management. So he said, can you please explain what the situation is? So I went through it all. He seemed in agreement that the ladder had not lasted for a reasonable amount of time. And he came back to me last thing on Thursday with an option. 2 options, actually. They have said, and I don't know if they've made any attempt to contact you in the meantime, but they have said that they are either prepared to replace the ladder for you or give you a full refund.
That's a tricky one. I want a ladder, but I have to say my confidence in the company is not particularly positive.
So shall we go for a refund?
I think so, and I will purchase another ladder somewhere else.
I think that's a very good idea. OK, well, I will go and have a word with them and confirm that you would like a full refund. You can then go and purchase this ladder from a good, reputable DIY store or somewhere like that. You may well have to... How much did you pay for the ladder in the first place? It was just under 85 quid, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it retailed at 89, and for some reason it was reduced to 84.99.
OK, and is it one of those ladders where you can make it into a step ladder or you can make it into a telescopic ladder?
No, it is literally just a ladder that pulls up and retracts. OK,
well, I would suggest you would probably be able to get something of perfectly reasonable quality for around that cost. I'm just trying to... It's been a long time since I've had to buy a ladder, for obvious reasons, that my ladder spends most of its life just sitting in in the shed, not being used. And I've had it for, 15, 20 years. And I've never had a problem with rungs on it snapping. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I'm on a company website at the moment. Is it only telescopic that you need, or is it one that could become a step ladder?
No, I think I just want to be able to get to the roof. Do you know, I don't have anything that I do have a step ladder. Okay.
Well, you can buy perfectly reasonable ones, it would appear, starting from about £69. So I'm sure from a reputable DIY store you would be able to source a perfectly good quality one. Can you leave it with me? I will go back and say that you'd like a full refund and we'll take it from there, yeah?
Can I just say thank you very much? Your experience mirrors mine via email. Every time I contacted them, I had a different name at the end of the email. So, I suspect that might also be agency staff as well.
It's just infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. And I made it very clear that whole experience had given me a very bad impression of this company.
Yes.
And it's up to them whether they want to change that or not. But certainly, in terms of my experience of trying to contact them, it was an absolute blooming nightmare. Maybe things are easier when you can go into the store and talk to them face to face. But certainly when you're trying to get through over the telephone, it was an absolute blooming nightmare. Anyway, Maggie, listen, we'll leave it there. I will tell them you'd like a refund. How did you pay?
I paid on my credit card.
OK. And do you still have that credit card?
Yes.
Have you had it updated at all?
I might need to check.
Can you go and check that ASAP and let me know, please? Because it may well be we'll have to give them slightly different card details to refund it to.
I think I'm okay because I think my current credit card is 17 to 23.
Okay, fine. Well, just check it for me and let me know if there's a problem, and I'll let them know that you'd like a refund. And I'm going to give them this. Only a tiny bit of the horn. They'll get the rest as soon as you've got your money back. Okay. Hello, Jeff.
Oh, hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Jeff. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
I think it'll be relatively short. I really want to just draw on your opinion. I purchased a pressure washer from a major high street retailer
when?
back in July last year.
Okay. How much was it?
Cheapo. It was 60 quid.
Yeah, fine.
And I've come to use it this spring.
How many times did you use it last year?
Oh, a couple of times, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what it's developed, it appears to have developed a fluctuating pressure problem. And so I returned it to the retailer, and they said, oh, it's over 30 days since you purchased it. I'm going to refer you directly to the manufacturer. Now, my query is really whether it's right that they can do that.
So it depends, really. So in terms of can they shirk their responsibility under the Consumer Rights Act? No, they can't. Your contract is with that retailer. Yeah. It's not with the manufacturer. So if they are trying to suggest in any way that they no longer have any responsibility to you, that's just wrong. However, is it the case that they have a good relationship with the manufacturer and that the manufacturer has said to them, any problems, just send customers our way, we'll get it all fixed for them? In which case, it may well be much quicker for you to go to the manufacturer.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it depends on the way it's being done, really. I mean,
yeah.
I think what I would do is I would say to the retailer, well, that's fine. I'm more than happy to go and speak to the manufacturer. But if I don't have any luck, please understand I'm coming straight back to you.
Sure.
Did you say that?
No, I didn't. They gave me some customer services flowchart, and so referring me directly to the manufacturer, which I don't have a problem with. It was. They took it off their computer, and if it's over 30 days, I refer the customer to the manufacturer, and then from the manufacturer, they gave me a telephone number and contact details.
Okay.
So
I think what I would do if I were in your position, then contact the manufacturer, explain the situation. If the manufacturer says, yeah, that's fine, no problem, we'll get that fixed for you, job done. If you have any trouble at all with the manufacturer, go straight back to the retailer and say, I've tried to speak to the manufacturer. They don't want to know. My contract is not with them anyway, it's with you, so what are you going to do to solve it?
Sure.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that they can't duck out of it if I do move over to the manufacturer.
No, not at all. Yeah. And what you may well decide to do is just to, in parallel with communicating with the manufacturer, just keep the retailer in the loop. So write a letter or an email to them just to say, further to the conversation on the 6th of April 2021 with so-and-so, I have now communicated with the manufacturer. They've agreed to resolve the matter. Please be aware that should I have any further issues, I reserve my right to come back to you.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Jonathan.
About it without naming any company names, please.
Right, okay. So I had a gardener come and do some work in our garden. We had a patio, we had some decking, tidy up some things, so quite a lot of things. And part of that was to put some play bark down, some rubber play bark down in the play area for my little boy who's going to be 3 at the end of this month. The play bark was delivered in December, mid-December. And I hadn't really been out in the garden until the end of February. And when I was looking at it, this rubber play bark. It's red in colour, so it comes in different colours. And well, ours like a burgundy red colour. And I noticed white patches all over the top surface of this play bark, and I thought initially that it was, birds had gone over and made a bit of a mess.
Pooped on it, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But when I looked at it closely, it's not that, because it's just affecting each piece of, little pieces of play bark, and it's just going white all around the edges, all on the top surface. So although the gardener had purchased it, I knew the company, so I contacted the company and said, "Hey, what's going on here? What's going on?" Because from what I understand is that it's supposed to be frost free. It's a colour, so it's supposed to be safer. It's more expensive than normal wooden play bark. So I contacted them. They come back to me and they said, "Can you send some pictures?" And I sent some pictures. They said, "Okay, we're going to go back to our manufacturer, see if there's a batch problem with this product, and come back to you." Waited about 2 weeks later. They came back to me and they said, "We've checked. There's nothing wrong with it. Really sorry about the inconvenience, but if you make a future purchase with us, we'll give you a 15% discount." And that was it. I replied, I said, "I'm not really happy with that. I wouldn't expect this to go like this in such a short space of time, given that the delivery was in December and this was noticed at the end of February."
I'm just having a little look at a photo. Well, a number of photos, actually. I've just tweeted the photos.
Okay.
For everyone listening to the programme.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if this is normal.
No, I don't know. So this is not wooden bark. This is bark made of rubber.
Yeah. So I think as I understand, it's like tyres, and they've been they've been shredded down and they've been treated and they've been given a coating of paint, and they've made it a safe product so that children can use it in their play areas. And
did you source this from a UK company?
Yes.
You've not bought it from some, internet company from God knows where they might have put any old chemical on it?
No. As far as I understand it, I've looked at their website, and there is a note on there about conforming to some British standards. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's not from a foreign company.
No, you got to be a bit careful, because obviously things that are made here and are made in Europe have to meet certain criteria in terms of safety. You know that with children's toys, for example, you'll see the CE marking on it to show that it's been deemed safe for use with children. If you go and buy something from some internet company that's come directly from China, I mean, it could have anything in it. It may not comply with safety laws here. So you do need to be a bit careful in terms of where you're buying from. But if this bark, this play bark, is sold by a British company that meets British standards and it happens to be turning white, is there a problem with that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking, is there something gone wrong with it? Is the treatment not worked on it? And maybe this does happen over a period of time. On where you've purchased it from on their website, it does say that it's supposed to last for about 8 years. I don't know what they mean by that. I guess at the end of the day, it's a cosmetic defect. That's what they might say. But I think, it's not cheap stuff. It's not.
How much did you pay for this play bark?
It was two bags of it, 500 kilos each. It was about 520 quid, just shy of that. So it's not cheap.
Right.
I purchased it because. Or I asked our gardener to purchase it because I felt like it was a better product to use, better than, normal wooden play bark.
Well, yes, and I presume did you say you have a son?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And how old is he?
He's nearly 3.
Okay, so you just want to know that if he falls over while he's playing out there, he's going to land on soft, springy rubber and isn't going to hurt himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know the kind of stuff you're talking about. It's the kind of stuff you find in playgrounds and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So it cushions the fall. But I'm just looking at the photo, and I've put the photos on my Twitter. So if anyone listening wants to go and have a little look, if you go to the official JVS on Twitter, just have a little look at the photos. There's 3 on there. One is taken from a distance, and then the other 2 seem to be close-ups. Certainly from a distance, you can't really see what the issue is. It's only when you zoom in and you can see the edges of some of the bits of rubber have gone white. Some people are suggesting, I've got a message here that suggested this could well be a mildew fungus.
Right.
I mean, a mildew fungus, which I guess could form on anything you put down, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but it is only affecting the play bark. There's nothing like that. I mean, you know, there's a slide there, a plastic slide, that's not affected by it. It's just this rubber play bark. But even if it is mildew, it's supposed to be a product that's outside, that's supposed to be frost resistant. So why would you then expect that?
Yeah, but you get mildew. Yeah, but you'd get mildew on decking. You'd get mildew on paving slabs, wouldn't you? I mean, it's just something that you would, if you're anything like me, you put down a special chemical to treat it and to kill the mildew every year.
And if that's what I need to do, then that would be great. But the company haven't even said that.
So what do they say it is?
They've not said anything. They've just said it's nothing to do with our product. That's it. End of. And I kind of feel that was the point where I was like, well, you know, that's not very good customer service. I would expect a bit more like, well, we think it might be this, try this. And that's fine. I would do that. But they haven't come back with anything other than to say, well, no, that's it. End of.
Okay.
This is what we're going to offer.
Floors MK tweets me to say, I certainly wouldn't be happy with that. It looks like the pigment has washed off. Dave says, it looks fine to me. Maybe the picture just doesn't do it justice. Funky Karma says, the play bark is mashed up tyres. The white threads are the tyre inner wall strings that will appear as it's used and the coating rubs off. I don't think this is an issue. Sarah says it looks like fibres that haven't been coated in the red dye. Is she sure it wasn't like that when she put it in?
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure, because I've got photos of it when I put it in, because I was really proud of that and the rest of my garden. And it wasn't like that when it was put down. It was only like that.
Ashley says on Twitter, it looks like the stringy fibres have changed colour from weathering. Gary says it looks like the fibres from the tyres have had the dye come off. RC says, I think it looks quite nice in that pinky shade, but obviously if it's indicative of something that may be harmful, then I would query it. Ian says it looks like wear and tear, made from recycled shredded play bark. Yeah, I mean, most people are suggesting that it doesn't really look too much of an issue. Vanessa's on the line. Oh, no, that's you. Sorry. Julian at Brookman's Park. Hello, Julian.
Morning, how are you?
Hello, Julian. Yes, I'm getting very confused. What's your view, Julian?
Did you know that rubber is actually white, I'm pretty sure, when it's first produced?
Is it?
And then they add the dye to it. So I'm informed. I think I read it on one of those search engines you can find. And so it's white, and then they put, obviously, white tyres wouldn't be any good on dirt roads at the time, so they put the dye in it to turn it black. I'm just wondering if it's any of the natural colour coming through.
Oh. Well, I had no idea that tyre rubber naturally was white.
Yeah, I'm 95% sure.
Right. Okay.
So
it may well be so it may well be the natural rubber colour is coming through as it's kind of weathering and being worn.
Could be. It could be. I don't know how it would work, but the other people have been saying it could be the fibres. Yeah, you get the fibre that comes through. It could be those showing through as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Julian, thank you very much indeed. Vanessa, would you like me to get a call into the company and just try and find out from them what they consider it to be and whether this is something that they've had from other customers as well?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to know is that if it's normal, if it's not normal. I think I was expecting a bit more. I mean, maybe weather and tearing, but we're only talking about a couple of months, if that. And that's I guess that's my issue, that it's happening.
Yeah, but remember the weather is very harsh in this country in the winter. And,
yeah, but they say it's frost resistant, so why would that happen?
Well, I don't know. I mean, other messages coming in on Twitter from people who've had a look at the photos, suggesting that it is about the fibres on the tyres that the dye will not adhere to properly. And it's as the dye is kind of washing off those fibres that it's then exposing the white underneath. But I don't know. I mean, I think it would just be nice to get some reassurance from the company that that's all it is, and that it's nothing more sinister that might be going. Because I would imagine what you don't want it to be is some chemical that is leaking out through the rubber that your son might then ingest in some way.
Yeah, that would be awful.
Yeah, OK. Well, I can certainly go and get some clarification from you. Can you hang on there? I'll pass you back to the team, Vanessa, and we'll get some detail.
All right, thanks so much.
OK, hang on there, please. Patricia spotted a great offer on some rather posh perfume in her daily newspaper. This was on New Year's Day. This perfume was reduced from £49 a bottle to £20. Well, she knew her twin granddaughters would love it, so she thought she'd be quids in.
There's an offer to buy some posh perfume, half price. So it was reduced from £49 down to £20. So I thought, wow, what a bargain.
Is it the perfume you normally wear then?
No, it's not. It was not for me. I've got twin granddaughters, so it would be it's buy one, get one free. So I thought, well, I could get two for £40 and still be £9 better off.
Well, unfortunately, when Patricia went to purchase these 2 bottles of perfume at the reduced price of £20, she just couldn't get the company to sell them to her for that price. It was almost as if this offer that was advertised in the paper had never existed. Very bizarre. Well, Patricia said she'd been complaining to the company ever since. Wasn't getting anywhere, which is why she came to me. She's back on the JVS show now. Hello, good morning to you, Patricia.
Oh, good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. So you will recall I went off to have a word with the company. They are Superdrug. And they came back very promptly and they suggested that they were sorry for the problem that you'd had and they were prepared to sell you the 2 bottles for £40, which was marvellous. In fact, it was even better than that because when I then queried it again, they then suggested that they were going to be sending you the 2 bottles of perfume without you paying a penny, which was fantastic. I mean, this really was a goodwill gesture. But has it happened, Patricia? What's the latest?
Well, they arrived Saturday morning, Jonathan.
Wow.
I know. Wonderful.
Perfect.
And I gave him to my granddaughters on Sunday, and they are absolutely delighted with them.
Marvellous. Well, so you're the world's greatest grandmother.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? But there's a lot of them out there. But no, we are all absolutely delighted with all your help and your team, Jonathan. We wouldn't have got it without you.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to help you. And it hasn't cost you a penny in the end.
No, not at all.
Which was amazing, really. I mean,
it was a long struggle, wasn't it, for 12 weeks, but we got there.
It was, yeah. But to be fair, as soon as I contacted them, they were very prompt in terms of resolving it. So, you know, we will thank them very much indeed. They've gone over and above to sort this out for you. I will give them my horn, Patricia.
Thank you.
Any other problems, you know where I am. Kelly's on the line. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm marvellous, thank you, Kelly. I hope you are too. I gather you've got a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Okay, so back in January, I visited a park with my daughter, and the weather was very cold, and we was there for less than an hour. And the next day, I reattended with my daughter and my nephew and niece, again for less than an hour. And then in February, I got a parking charge notice saying I was there for basically 20-odd hours. And I rang them up as soon as it fell on my doorstep and said, how do I appeal it? And I explained, and the lady gave me the details. I appealed online and waited. It said they would get back to him in 14 days. With the current situation, COVID, etc., I thought it was a bit generous, 14 days, and left it.
Was this a private parking company or a local authority?
private.
Oh dear. Okay.
And I left it, and I kept checking online because I thought, 14 days is a very quick turnaround. There was no update online, and then because I thought, well, I wasn't there for that long, so they must be able to reject it. But then I had another notice fall on my doorstep in March, basically requesting the higher amount. I rang up, and the lady told me that the previous one had been basically rejected, saying that they'd checked the footage and it wasn't a re-entry, and there was nothing I could do, and I'd have to reappeal, which I did, to be told that was also rejected the same day. But I said it's a bit unfair. I didn't get the rejection letter, which gives you an individual code to appeal through an independent, somebody appeals on your behalf. And I rang them, and they've basically said to me, that's only valid for 28 days, so that can't go down that road now.
Okay, well, that's very frustrating. Now, in terms of the car park, how far is this park from where you live?
Just under 2 miles.
Okay. And is the car park used for anything other than the park?
I don't believe so. I think originally, a few years back, they put it in place because people were misusing it.
Right.
But you can actually park
misusing
for 3
it for
hours.
what?
Local businesses. So parking there free while they're at work.
Okay. So is it anywhere near a train station?
Nope.
Anywhere near shops?
Yes, but the shops have their own parking, so that wouldn't really be necessary.
And I presume the shops are shut anyway in January?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what you did on the afternoon of the first day when apparently you drove your car in and didn't drive out until the following day?
I've gone through all my pictures and I haven't got anything, but I have got photos of me being at a different park the following morning. But obviously I don't take pictures of my car when I go out because I don't expect this to happen. And I didn't expect it to go this far because my vehicle wasn't there overnight.
Did you make any purchases at all? Did you fill up with petrol or anything like that?
Oh, I haven't checked that. I could perhaps look into that.
Well, it would just be useful because, let me just explain the way this works. A private parking company, they don't have any power to force you to pay. They don't have enforcement powers in the same way that a local authority does. So the only thing that this private parking company can do is to take you to the small claims court.
Okay.
And they would take you to the small claims court for, in effect, breaking the terms of the contract. They would have to prove that there was a contract in place, and they would have to prove that you'd broken it.
Okay.
You, of course, in that instance, would have the opportunity to explain that you hadn't broken the contract because you had not left your car in there for any longer than, well, on the first day, it sounds as if you hadn't been there for any longer than an hour.
We wasn't there very long at all because it was very cold, so it was just to get a bit of fresh air, really, and my little girl was cold, so I know it wasn't longer than an hour on both days.
Right. So if, for example, you then had a receipt showing that you'd been to the petrol station later that afternoon, then you would obviously use that as your evidence in the court to explain to the judge, well, how on earth can my car possibly have been left in that car park when I was filling up with petrol at such and such a petrol station at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? It's impossible. So that would be very helpful.
Yeah. Oh, well, I will have to have a look, but that's what I said to them. I said, I struggled, maybe if I haven't got the evidence, but I'm asking them for their evidence because I know my vehicle wasn't there overnight, and it has happened after looking into it a bit further. It has happened a few times to people visiting that park for the same reason. But
yes, I presume they have what are known as ANPR cameras at the entrance and the exit. Yeah. And those cameras will record your number plate going in and then your number plate going out. And if they have, for example, do you have to take a ticket or anything when you're in the car park?
No, nothing. You just literally go in and it just says sign saying maximum 3 hours free parking. Okay.
So, it's difficult. I'm more than happy to go and speak to them. However, I need to just manage your expectations. We do not typically have very much success with private parking companies.
No, of course.
And let me explain why. private parking companies couldn't give a tuppenny whether they get bad publicity on the radio or not. Most private parking companies, they are not in the business of maintaining a good reputation with people. They don't really care whether people view them in a dim light or not. They make their money from fining people and finding a way of getting money out of people. And they don't really care if they've got a bad reputation, in my experience, and that's for most companies, not all. So they may well not even bother responding, is what I'm saying.
No.
So if they don't respond, if they don't look at this and say, "Oh, we're terribly sorry, we realise we've made a dreadful mistake, how embarrassing." If they don't say that, then your only options, you'll have two options.
Okay.
Option number one will be that you settle the fee that they are looking for, because the worry of it is something that you don't want hanging over you.
I have explained this to them as well and said I'm heavily pregnant and I'm having to constantly chase them and they're just not interested.
Option number two is that you respond to them and you say, "My car was not left in that car park. I drove in on such and such a date at such and such a time. I left the car park approximately," and then you put however long it was.
Okay.
"I then returned to that car park the following day.
Yep.
You have not demonstrated any evidence to suggest that this is not the case.
Okay.
Therefore, should you wish to pursue this any further, I look forward to hearing from you and I will defend myself in the small claims court."
Okay.
The thing I need to make you aware of is increasingly private parking companies are taking people to court. There was a time when it all used to be hot air because they knew if things went to court, they were very unlikely to win. Then there were one or two cases where private parking companies did push it and had some success. And ever since then, private parking companies often take the approach, well, let's give it a whirl. If we lose, well, we lose, but let's try it because we might win and then we'll get a whole load of money out of this person.
Would they need that CCTV of the footage of that, though? Is that the evidence they would need based on the small claims?
I think if you were to explain it, if you just put yourself in the position, you're standing there in front of a judge, and a judge says to you, "Did you leave your car in that car park that clearly states you're only allowed to leave your car there for 3 hours? Did you leave your car there for 24 hours?" At which point you would say, "No, I didn't." And more to the point, why would I? I live 2 miles away from that park. I have parking outside my house. There were no shops open in the vicinity, so why would I have left my car there? There's no train station there. Why would I have randomly decided to leave my car for a 24-hour period in a public car park next to a park where it could have been vandalised, it could have been broken into? God knows what could have happened. Why would I have done that when I live 2 miles away? If you present it in that way, it doesn't seem very logical that you would have left your car there.
No, of course not. And I didn't. I feel a bit pressurised to pay it, but at the same time, I know I didn't do any. I know I wasn't there. And they are threatening already, saying debt recovery, etc. And I have got good credit rating. I'm just a bit. I don't want it to go down that road.
Listen, they can't adjust your credit history without taking you to court, winning, and then you refusing to pay the amount that they have won in court.
Okay.
So any threat of affecting your credit rating from a private parking company is nonsense.
Okay.
If it were me personally, I would tell them to do one.
Yes.
And I would
wanted to just pay to but I thought I'm not being bullied into it because I know I wasn't there.
I would write a letter to them and I would say, my car was not in that car park for 24 hours. My car was there on 2 separate days and my car was in the car park for the permitted time.
Yeah.
Should I hear from you again, I will sue you for £50 an hour for my time in dealing with this matter. That's what I would do. But obviously I understand not everyone is up for the battle and the stress and the hassle of it. So, I can't tell you what to do. What I can tell you is I will certainly try and contact them and talk some sense into them. But I just need to manage your expectation. With private parking companies, we have a phenomenally low success rate, I'm afraid.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
They don't
what
care.
I've experienced so far.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care because private parking companies, all they want to do is try and catch people out and fine them, and then they make money that way. They don't make money any other way.
They know people can't be bothered with the stress and the hassle, don't they? So they sort of win either way.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people just roll over and pay things, which is frustrating, but there we go. Listen, can you hang on there? I'm going to pass you back to the team. Okay. We'll get some detail, and I'll go and have a conversation with them this afternoon for you, okay? Do you remember Jeremy? Jeremy runs a dog boarding kennel with his wife, and they were contacted by a completely new customer ahead of Christmas 2020. This customer wanted to leave his 2 very large dogs with Jeremy while he went to South Africa. And when I say large dogs, I mean humongous dogs.
They were real bruisers of dogs. I don't think they were American bulldogs at all. I think they were what we call cane corsos. They had clipped ears and everything. They were the sort of dogs, if you saw them coming along the road, you'd be, ooh. After the New Year's, a customer emailed from South Africa to say he needed to extend his holiday. Could we look after the dogs longer? Which I replied by email saying, yes, we could. He emailed his card details, and I kept him informed of the progress. I mean, the total price ended up as £1,762.44, yeah. Problem is, a few days later, we received letters from our card processing company. The customer was claiming a chargeback to his credit cards, and the reason given was they were fraudulent transactions, which basically means the customer wasn't putting his PIN number in. We've been doing this for 10 years, taking 10 payments a day, maybe over the phone, and we've never had a chargeback claim against us. My first reaction was to get in touch with the customer, actually. No reply. He's blocked us actually now, so we can't actually make contact with him.
Well, this is something that everyone needs to be aware of, particularly if you run a small business and if you take card payments. Be aware of this, because this could happen to you too. It would appear this man who left his 2 dogs with Jeremy knew of a bit of a scam he could pull. He knew that by not actually turning up in person and paying using a card with a chip and PIN machine, but instead making card payments over the phone, and without any request being made for his identification, he knew that he could use possibly somebody else's card, maybe his own, who knows? We're not able to verify for sure, because we don't even really know who the guy was anyway. But he was able to make card payments that he could then do a chargeback on afterwards, meaning poor Jeremy looked after this guy's dogs for all that time for free. Well, it's not on. And it just makes me sick that somebody thinks they can get away with this. And you mark my words, this guy knew what he was doing. This wasn't the first time he'd done it. He knew how to pull this one over Jeremy's eyes. And he will do it to other people as well. And it's for that reason I really want to make sure this man is found, identified, and stopped from doing it to any other small business owners. Jeremy's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Jeremy.
Hello again.
As you know, I went off to have a word with your card payment company. In effect, they came back and said, look, unfortunately, you've left yourself open to fraud by not asking for somebody to be there to put the PIN number in, for making the card payment over the phone and not requesting the identification to verify who that person is when you have no knowledge of them as a customer previously. You unfortunately have left yourself in a position where that person was then entitled to do a chargeback on the card payments. Really frustrating, but a lesson for everyone else, as I mentioned earlier. But what can we do to try and catch this guy? What seems really frustrating to me is that you were very cunning, actually, probably more cunning than he thought you would be. And this may well be the Achilles heel for this gentleman, because you scanned the dog's microchips while they were there, and you've got their microchip numbers. Now, you obviously cannot find out who those dogs are registered to because of GDPR, frustratingly, but presumably the police would be able to trace him through those microchip numbers. Provided they are actually his dogs, I guess. But it would be very odd for him to leave somebody else's dogs and go away for all that period of time. So chances are it will lead the police to this man who appears to have, pulled one over you, to be honest, pulled it all over your eyes, because the police you've spoken to, they don't seem to think there's very much they can do. Action Fraud, you were saying you've spoken to, they don't seem to think there's very much they can do, which just seems exasperating to me, Jeremy. It seems absolutely infuriating. Surely someone, you don't necessarily expect them to prioritise this like they would do a murder case or a mugging or a rape, but surely there must come some time where Hertfordshire Police have got a few spare hours where they could actually prioritise trying to catch a con man who probably is going to do this to other businesses in Hertfordshire or the surrounding counties. However, Hertfordshire Police do not seem to think that there's very much they can do. Now, I know that after our last conversation, you were going to raise this with your MP, Bim Afalami. Have you done that, Jeremy? And what's Mr. Afalami had to say?
Yes, Bim did actually. He replied within a good half hour, actually saying, "Yes, please send me some more details." And I did so, and he equally replied back, I think, the next day, saying that he would then get back to me once he had a chance to raise it with Hertfordshire Police. Action Fraud. He was going to go to Action Fraud to see the way it seems to work is that the local police don't deal with fraud anymore. It's very low priority in their book, so they have to be sort of notified by Action Fraud that there's a chance that it's worth putting some time into this to catch this guy. So they won't do anything until Action Fraud refers back to them, and that's where we are. You see, I'm sort of piggy in the middle at the moment. Neither authority is doing anything about it.
But you see, this is what's so frustrating, because there are all kinds of lower levels of crime where Hertfordshire Police, together with for example, their neighbourhood officers, will put some time in. Even though it's a relatively low-level crime, they'll put some time in to try and catch people, because they recognise that criminals don't generally just commit one crime and never commit another crime again. People who commit crime tend to commit crime after crime after crime until they're caught. And it's exactly the same with this guy. And what I find a bit frustrating is there's such a very clear lead. You've got the microchip numbers that, if they were to contact, I presume it's Petlog, they are the company that would hold the details for the registered owner of those dogs.
Well, I've actually contacted them. I've ascertained that they are actually registered with this registration company. There's various registration and they've said, yes, we have this registration, but we can't reveal it to you.
No, because of GDPR. But they would be able to reveal it, I'm sure, to the police.
They can. They can reveal it to a vet, the local authority, dog pound, and the police. That's the way I see it.
I see. And I know you were going to mention potentially to a vet to see whether they might be able to provide you with any information. Have you tried that at all?
I did try our vet that we're sort of registered with, and they wouldn't release it. They wouldn't try on my behalf. No.
No, well, again, I mean, it's under GDPR law. They could find themselves in a lot of trouble if they were to divulge the information for somebody else. But the point is, you've got the microchip number. Yes, if the police, if next time your neighbourhood officer is around, if he or she were to swing by, pick up those microchip numbers, put a call into Petlog and say, can you tell me the details of this person? You know, it may well be that as soon as the name is mentioned to them, they'll think, oh, hang on a minute, well, we know that is. He's always up to something, you know, because the chances are this guy has not just done this to you. He's very possibly a well-known name to the police, and it seems so frustrating that not a single call has been put in to try and find out what his name is.
Well, that's the thing. It looks like it's not a priority. I mean, police have other priorities. It's drugs and it's alcohol abuse and noisy behaviour and hair coursing, but it's not fraud. It's not low-level fraud. That's the trouble. They have to prioritise.
Yeah, but being honest about it, do we honestly think that someone who is prepared to carry out this kind of fraud on you, do we honestly think that this man in all other walks of life is a law-abiding citizen? Of course he's not.
No, he's a chancer. No,
of course he's not. He's a chancer and he's probably a crook. And the fact is that he will be finding ways of exploiting the law all over the shop. And it is ridiculous that he's being allowed to get away with it. Now, what I have done in the meantime, I've contacted Action Fraud as well. They have said they are prepared to come back to us with a response. But what they do need from you, and what I hope you might be able to do for me this afternoon, or as soon as you can, because of GDPR law again, it rears its head, they are requesting permission from you to them to discuss and disclose the details of this investigation to me. So can you please send me an email just to say that I, and then give your full name, give Action Fraud permission to discuss my ongoing complaint, reference number such and such, put all of that in there with Jonathan Vernon Smith at the BBC. If you could get that sent over to me ASAP, hopefully Action Fraud will come back to my programme with some kind of response as to why things have not been done so far, but hopefully why they will be done going forward on this particular case.
That's my pleasure. I will do that this afternoon to you.
Okay, great. I mean, it's just, there are some things in life where I see an injustice that I just find sickening. And I think this guy who's done this to you, I think he's preyed on a small business owner at a time when, to be honest, you can least afford it. He's ripped you off. And there's absolutely no way this guy is not doing this to other people. And he needs to be caught. And I think it's outrageous that at the moment he seems to have gotten away with it. And I want to make sure that he doesn't get away with it. Listen, let's leave it there for now. If you can get that email to me, we'll obviously see what happens there. We'll see what happens from your MP. And one way or the other, we will get somebody to take this seriously, OK? You have a consumer problem, I gather. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
OK, I bought tickets in 2019 for a concert last August. Obviously, it didn't go ahead. I received an email to say they will automatically change it to this year, which was fine, not a problem. I've been trying to contact them through email and trying to phone them to say, or to find out if I need to do anything or if it's just automatically transferred over and we've got the same seats and everything else. And I'm not getting anywhere.
No. So the concert that you were due to go to, has that been rearranged?
Yes.
Right, so what's the date of that?
21st of August this year.
In theory?
In theory.
Because, I mean, I guess at this time we're still not quite sure when large events such as pop concerts and things like that will actually be allowed to go ahead.
No.
So, in theory, it's booked for the 21st of August. And can you make the 21st of August?
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah.
OK. And you've not got any tickets for the 21st of August, though? You've only got the guarantee that they would carry them over?
Yeah, I've got the email, yeah.
But you don't know what seats you've got?
No, I mean, as far as I would be aware, they'd be the same seats that we'd booked for this last year. But I don't know.
Right. And what's happened when you've tried to contact them to find out what's going on?
First time I emailed, I got an automatic response back. Second time I emailed, because they said, well, if you want to transfer it into a different name. And it's like, I don't want to transfer it into a different name. I just want to make sure it's transferred to the same day, same seat sort of thing. And then the second one, they've just ignored. And I can't get through on the phone. OK. Well, it sounds like this should be a fairly straightforward thing. Can you please confirm that the seats will be exactly the same seats? And I think what also would be a good idea is to get some kind of clarification from them in terms of what happens if the concert cannot go ahead as planned on the 21st of August. Yeah. You know, they're going to transfer it again to August next year? I mean, at this rate,
You might be seeing, I gather this is Westlife that you're supposed to be seeing.
It is, yeah.
It might be like watching Last of the Summer Wine by the time you can see them. But, I mean, we shouldn't joke. But, none of us are getting any younger. Right, OK, well, can you leave this with us? What I'll do is I'll pass you back to the team. We'll get some detail. And I'll get a call into them this afternoon and try and find out what's happening, OK? Now, Les lives in a medium-sized bungalow. He's got gas central heating. A year ago, he was paying quite a lot of money, actually, already for his electricity, £166 a month, which is a lot. But it's nothing compared to what they want from him now.
They've been taking ever-increasing amounts of money by direct debit, and they are now saying that I should be paying £2,154 per month. Now, I know the problem, the reason is that their meter is faulty.
Right.
I've had this confirmed by one of their engineers, but they just will not accept it and are coming up with all sorts of excuses.
Well, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, £166 a month for electricity in a home that is not even heated electrically already, to me, seems like a huge amount of money. To then start asking for thousands per month, I mean, it's very obvious. It doesn't need a rocket scientist to work out that there's obviously something going horribly wrong with the meter. But why would this company not get things sorted out? Well, I've been off to have a word with them. Les is back on the JVS show. Hello, Les.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Les. All of this has been a real worry to you and your wife, hasn't it?
It has indeed, yes. Over 3 months of it, yes.
Well, I can imagine. And I said to you when you and I last spoke, I said, try not to worry about it. Let me deal with it and try and sort this for you. Let's find out how we're doing. Because I got straight on to E.ON, as you know. They came back and they have said, we are aware of Les's concerns and are already working to resolve this matter. Our engineer has inspected the meter and confirmed that it is faulty. We will be contacting Les to arrange a convenient appointment for a replacement meter to be installed. All charges on the account are already paused while we work to fully resolve this matter. This is an unusual situation which we're working to resolve as quickly as possible. Okay.
That's good.
So I'm hoping that will be quite reassuring to you because, firstly, they are confirming in writing that there is no dispute over the meter. The meter is faulty. They recognise that.
Well, that's a good step forward.
Well, it is, because although the engineer had told you it was faulty, subsequently all the company kept saying was it's not faulty.
Yes.
So, to have it in writing, and I've got it in black and white in front of me from E.ON, they recognise the meter is faulty. Now, they go on just a little bit of extra information. They say the direct debit has not been increased and has been switched off on a temporary basis.
Right.
Once the new meter has been fitted, we will monitor readings for a short period until we're satisfied that it is working correctly.
Good, yes.
Les has been our customer for several years, so we have historical readings to compare the new meter against. Okay?
That's great, yes.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, Les, they will be able to look at your new meter. I mean, in an ideal world, let's hope that your electricity consumption plummets.
Yeah.
At which point we can then compare for E.ON and we can say, this is how much they're using typically a month.
Yes.
This is how much for the last 6 years they've been paying per month. You owe them quite a lot of money back.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan, yes.
All right. Well, listen, Les, I'm presuming from the way you're talking, they haven't been in touch with you.
Well, they have actually to say that they're going to call me tomorrow morning.
To do what?
I don't know. Okay. It's their customer service said they will call me tomorrow morning.
Okay. Well, I mean, they say that they're going to come out and replace the meter. So let's hope tomorrow morning when they call you, they are saying, hello, are you around today? Because we've got the meter and we could come and change it over. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Listen, let's leave it there for now, Les. Hopefully that has made you feel much more relaxed than you were last week when we spoke about all of this. Don't worry, they're not going to be carting you off to debtor's prison anytime soon.
No.
It should all be sorted out very quickly, okay?
Yeah, thank you very much for what you've done, Jonathan. Thank you.
It's fine. It's a pleasure. I will give Eon this. Ooh. Just a slight honk of the horn for encouraging noises. However, Eon know me and they know my programme, so they will know until everything is finally resolved they're not having any more of the horn. Please keep me posted, Les. Now, Philip bought a laptop a couple of years ago, and in the middle of the pandemic, things started to go horribly wrong with it.
The forward-facing camera just stopped working. No fault of my own, it just packed up. So, the camera you use for Zoom calls, that kind of thing, which everyone's using at the minute. Initially, I took it back into the manufacturer's store. I know that's not the right place to take it, but they've always been helpful before, and I just thought I'd go and ask the question, what was wrong with it? Could anything be done with it? And they told me nothing they could do, but to repair it, it was going to be £550 plus VAT, so £660 to repair it, because they need to take out the whole screen to get to the camera, which means replacing everything. And they advised I took it back to the high street retailer, which I did. Took it over to them. They said nothing they could do because it was out of its 2-year warranty.
Well, Philip knew his consumer rights, and he felt as if this laptop camera had not lasted for a reasonable amount of time. If you are a regular listener to my programme, you will not require me to go through my usual mantra, but let me do it just in case there are any new listeners today. When you buy a product, you are entitled to expect, as per the law, that that product is fit for purpose, is of reasonable quality, and lasts for a reasonable amount of time. There is no 12-month cut-off. There is no 2-year cut-off. Your rights do not end when the warranty ends. So never, ever allow a retailer to fob you off with the usual load of old nonsense. Oh, sorry, it's over 12 months old. You'll have to go and talk to the manufacturer. That's nothing to do with us anymore. Any retailer that tells you that is either trying to mislead you or is ignorant to the law. Don't allow it to happen. Now, as far as Philip was concerned, he knew that this camera should have lasted for considerably longer than it had, and he knew that the retailer had an obligation to him to get it sorted. Unless Philip had damaged the camera, which he hadn't, it should still be going strong. Well, I went off to have a word with the company on his behalf, and Philip's back on the JVS now. Hello, Philip.
Jonathan.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good. Now, you will remember that I did go off and have a word with the retailer, which was John Lewis.
Yeah.
They came back, they said, we apologise for the difficulty that Philip has had in seeking a repair for his Apple MacBook Pro. Having reviewed the report provided by Apple in more detail, we have assessed that it is unclear as to the reason for the product fault. We have therefore agreed to cover the cost of repair as quoted by Apple, and we are in the process of letting Philip know. Well, of course, that was sent quite some time ago, a couple of months ago now. Yeah. And, of course, shops, including Apple repair shops, have been closed. But that's all changed recently, I gather. Apple repair shops are now open for people. So what's the latest?
Yeah, so I wasn't aware they were open, actually, but Laura called me yesterday and told me that you'd let her know that they were. So I got in touch with Apple in Cambridge, and I booked in for a repair. Well, it's going in for an appointment tomorrow.
Great.
So it will take about 10 days from there. Apple called me this morning to let me know what was going on. So I've just got to drop it off tomorrow in the morning, basically.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Because so many of the, and I don't know where the Apple store is in Cambridge, but so many of the Apple stores are in shopping centres, and of course shopping centres are pretty much closed.
Yeah, that's what.
Apart from essential shops. But yeah, apparently the Apple repair shops have been open for a while. So
yeah, the guy called me this morning from Cambridge store. It's in the Grand Arcade, and he said there's a back door that's open to the Grand Arcade. You've got to go in there.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a secret passageway into the Apple store.
Oh, fine.
But, I can get in there. So yeah, no, it's all booked in. Thank you.
Good.
So yeah, hopefully within 10 days, 2 weeks, I'll I'll have it all back up and working, and then I've just got to send off the invoice to John Lewis for them to pay me.
Okay, super. Will you please keep me in the loop and let me know what happens? And hopefully it will be resolved very soon. Maggie purchased a telescopic ladder in 2018. It cost just under £85. But she's been left very disappointed in this ladder because when her son went to use it, 2 of the rungs of the ladder snapped while he was standing on it. Well, the ladder's only been used about 6 times, she was saying, in the last few years. Her son is not, son-in-law is not a big guy. You know, it's not as if he was putting a huge unreasonable amount of weight on this ladder. So why on earth had 2 of the rungs snapped in such a short amount of time? Well, I went off to have a word with the retailer on Maggie's behalf. She's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Maggie.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, you will recall from our conversation yesterday, I've had a blooming nightmare trying to get hold of them. An absolute blooming nightmare. Speaking to person after person after person, promising me calls back. Nobody called me back. And in the end, I got quite stroppy last week and said, look, enough is enough now. I'm going to have to identify your shop on my programme, because if this is the level of customer service you give out and the fact you can't even bother to get somebody to call me back, then I have a duty of care to tell everybody else which shop we're talking about. Well, it's amazing that seemed to do the trick. I received a call back very promptly after that. And one of the managers was very helpful. He said, OK, leave it with me. Let me look into it. I'll come back to you. He came back to me the end of last week and said, we would like to offer Maggie either a replacement ladder or a full refund. Well, I put that to you yesterday. And you said, do you know what, I think I'd rather have a refund because then I can go and buy this ladder from another shop instead. I had a conversation with him this morning, Maggie. I wanted to just touch base with you quickly so you know what to expect. He said that's absolutely fine. They're not prepared, based on the time frame, to put the refund on your credit card. Apparently that's difficult for them to do. So what they're going to do is get a cheque out to you instead. They have said that the cheque for the full amount should be with you within the next 10 days.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much.
So can you please let me know as soon as it turns up? Obviously, I'm not going to give the company the horn until you've got the money, but please keep me in the loop.
I will.
Lovely.
And thank you very much for all the effort you've made on my behalf.
It's a pleasure, Maggie. We'll talk very soon. Hello, Anne.
Hello, Jonathan.
Good morning. I gather you have a consumer problem, something to do with an LED face mask. What the dickens is that? Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Okay, you get different types of LED face masks. You get red light therapy. That's supposed to rejuvenate your skin, help with anti-aging. The one that I got has 7 different lights. That's why I liked it so much. It had a red light therapy. It had a purple, which is supposed to help repair all your cells and stuff in your face. It's supposed to be scientifically proved to work. It also has, when people get sad, the light therapy.
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder, yeah.
Yeah, it has that as well on it. It has the green light for acne. So all around, it's supposed to be a great mask. Yeah.
Right. And right. I mean, I guess the cynic, the grumpy old skeptic in me says this sounds like a complete and utter load of old baloney. But maybe you know more than I do.
You can say that. You can't see UV rays, but they work and they can damage the skin, and you can go brown from sunbeds. So
that's true.
That's
true. Okay, I will try and be less of a cynic, and I will open my mind as you carry on. So, how much did you pay for this LED face mask?
£285. Yes.
285 quid. And what are you supposed to do? You stick it on your face and what? Just lie there?
No. This you get ones which are like a hard one, which you have to stay still and use because they're pretty heavy. This one as well, it's a light one, so it's a very light, like silicone type one with the LED lights inside. It has a cable with a clip, so if you want to, you can actually just put it on your face, clip it on, and if you need to do the washing up, do some stuff while your face is getting treated, you can do that. I didn't. I would put it on in the evening when I'm relaxing after I've washed my face.
Don't you have to plug it in?
No, it's a rechargeable. So you just plug it in, recharge it, and the battery lasts for so long.
Right. Okay. Well, that's
so you don't have to stay in one place. That's why I liked it as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you get one of these things. You stick it on your face. You walk around doing your jobs, and it's what was the
looking like a crazy lady?
What was the?
See you through the window.
I'm not making any judgment at all. What was the genuine benefit that you wanted from it?
Mine was more the red light therapy, the purple light.
And what does red light therapy do?
It's supposed to, for anti-aging, help, and the purple light regenerates the skin cells. I like to do as well my own dermapening. So when I dermapen my face, which is loads of little needles that you poke in your face, as they heal up, if you use the mask as well, it helps with the healing process.
Right.
I'm into all my home stuff.
I'm trying really hard to keep my mind open. I'm struggling. £285 you paid for this mask. What's gone wrong? Obviously something.
Well, even though it's £285, I just want to point out, if you go to different salons and get it done, it costs quite a lot of money. So buying that and doing it at home, benefits massively. What's gone wrong is it seems to be, well, they've told me when I sent them a video that it's the wiring in the cable has broken. You're supposed to be able to walk around with it. So I actually didn't. I actually used to use it in the evening, as I said, not as walking around as well. So even more, it shouldn't have gone faulty.
When did you buy it?
When did you say?
When?
In May 2019.
Okay. So just less than 2 years ago.
Yeah, it started going faulty in October. September, October, but I could not find for the dear life of me where I'd purchased it online. I couldn't find any emails. And then after searching, we realised my partner had done it on he had purchased it on his card.
Right.
And he had the emails.
But you see, that in itself worries me. You had no idea where you'd purchased it from. I mean,
I forgot.
No, but how do you know you haven't? How do you know you haven't just bought a complete and utter load of old junk that some companies they're rubbing their hands with glee? Oh, look, this woman's bought one of our masks that lights up.
Obviously, at the time, I would have done my research and looked.
So, what's a genuine, reputable retailer?
There isn't lots of retailers that sell that mask.
Why not?
I think it just seems that there's only certain people that sell it.
Why would genuine good retailers who specialise in health and well-being and all those kinds of things, why would they not sell this, do you think?
I really don't know. I think it's like a patented thing where only certain people can sell it.
Okay.
So not anybody can get it off the suppliers and sell it. I think they have to, with certain other things, where only certain companies can sell certain products. Like Number 7 sell I shouldn't have probably said a name, but they sell their own brand stuff. Nobody else sells their brand.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
All right. So you've found a company to buy it from. And you bought it in May 2019. In October 2020, it started to go wrong. What were the problems? Was it just as if it got a short connection or something like that, short circuit?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
If you moved it in a certain direction, then the light would come on. But then after, it started to where all the colours started flashing all over the place, where you couldn't even... Yeah, look, even if you could have moved it to one side slightly or moved it in a certain direction and still have it working. That's what I was doing at first. And then finally it just started flashing all different colours and just wouldn't work.
Lord knows what that would do to you. You have all the colours going at the same time.
Give me all the therapy.
So what's the company had to say? I presume you've complained to them.
Well, yes, my partner contacted them at first in December. They seemed very helpful. Then they went unhelpful with him and said that I need to speak to them. So I sent them a message. They did tell me if I can send them proof of purchase and all the details, that they would look at either repairing the item or giving me a replacement. I told them at first I couldn't find all the details. I was hoping if I gave them the information, they'll be able to find me on their customer list. They said they couldn't. Finally, I did find all the evidence and proof of the mask, and they have said that they will replace it for £100, that it can't be repaired. I'm not happy with that, because I think if it's gone faulty, I paid that much money. Why should I pay anything to have it replaced? Yeah, I just don't agree with it. I think it's quite an expensive item compared to some of the other light therapy masks, and I expect it to last at least a decent amount of time.
I'm being told by listeners who know about LED face masks that in the world of LED face masks, you've paid a decent amount for it. This is not some cheapy one.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to purchase that one.
Please tell me the retailer is a UK-based retailer. I don't want any detail that will identify them, but please tell me they're not some, company in China on the internet.
They are not a company in China. They're not in England, but from where they come from, I didn't seem that bothered by it. Where it come from? Right.
Well, I'll tell you why you should be bothered. I'll tell you why you should be bothered. Because UK consumer law covers UK-based retailers.
Yeah.
If you buy something from a company in America or from a company in Europe, you're not covered by UK Consumer Rights Act of 2015.
Let's hope they'll do the right thing.
Well, that is the problem. You're then entirely dependent on the laws governing that particular company. If they are based abroad, I don't know what the consumer rights are in whatever country you've bought this from. So it may well be that because it's not a UK-based company, they will turn around and say, no, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
That's the slight issue I have.
The way they promote their mask is that they are a great company, so that's the way they promote it.
Okay.
Three of my messages, they just end up just ignoring me now. They gave me another email address to message when I asked them for who is the manufacturer. I just can't get to the end of who is the manufacturer either. They just will not tell me, which makes me have a little bad idea that maybe it could be made by China and they import them in and then sell them at an extreme price. But I don't know. I can't 100% say that, but I'm starting to think that.
I think it's right that you're starting to be a little more cynical. I mean, what tends to happen in life when you start listening to my programme, you start off one of life's positive, optimistic people. And after a few years of listening to my programme, you become almost as cynical and grumpy and sceptical as I am about everything.
Yeah.
And it sounds as if you're somewhere on that transition.
Yeah, I've got that little inkling. That's why they don't want to tell me who the manufacturer is.
I would suggest that's probably right, yes. Now, look, Hannah, she hasn't yet become quite as cynical and grumpy as me.
Not far off.
No. She's catching up. Can we get some detail? Can we go and have a little word with this company?
We can.
And find out what on earth they're doing. Have you ever put one of these masks on your face?
No, but I have seen them. There's a lot of sort of influencers online that do lots of photos and videos with these things on. They look a bit like, stormtroopers from Star Wars films. They look like that, and then you just have these big white masks on your face and you can see whatever the light is underneath.
My grandmother, she lived to 100 years of age and 34 days. It's a miracle when you think about it. I don't believe she ever put an LED face mask on.
No?
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing that people manage to keep on going even without things like LED face masks?
Yeah, but was she very wrinkly?
She had the skin of a 200-year-old. Yeah, that's right. So, listen, let's see what we can do. Anne, I will pass you back to Hannah. We'll get some detail.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. That reminds me of a joke that my dad told at my grandmother's 80th birthday when he said, Mother has the skin of a peach. Mind you, have you ever seen the skin of an 80-year-old peach? In April 2019, Veronica purchased 2 rise and recline electric chairs. They cost about 750 quid. 23 months later, she's got a fairly significant problem with them.
My husband and I are both disabled, and the last few weeks, one of them decided it would only recline now and again, and it would go da-da-da-da-da. It was one, and now both of them, the second one doesn't work at all. The first one, the back goes back, and that's all, but the second one doesn't work at all.
And have you contacted the company you bought them from?
Yes.
What have they said?
They're only guaranteed for a year. My husband's smaller than me. I'm about 16 stone now, and it says on here 18 stone was the maximum. He's only about 12 stone something.
So the simple fact is, under the Consumer Rights Act of 2015, which states that any product you purchase from a UK-based retailer must be fit for purpose, of reasonable quality and must last for a reasonable amount of time, it's very clear that these 2 chairs have not lasted for a reasonable amount of time, and that's exactly what I went to argue to this company on Veronica's behalf. She's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Veronica.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning to you. Now, the company, you will be aware, said that they weren't slamming the door shut on trying to help you, and in fact they suggested that someone was going to be coming out to do an inspection on the chairs. They were happy to cover the cost of that. They did describe it as a goodwill gesture, but we'll gloss over that. And when this person came out and inspected it, they then suggested to you that they were happy to cover the cost of repairing the chairs.
Yes.
I gather things have developed even further. What's the latest, Veronica?
Well, I had an email on the 31st of the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
It says here, as discussed, I have placed an order for a new chair for you.
A whole new chair?
Yes. The expected day for stock arriving is the 2nd of May, but please bear in mind this is an expected date and not 100% guarantee.
Yeah.
As soon as the order is shipped, an email will be sent to you to confirm. Thank you for your patience and understanding during this matter.
Right. Now, I should just point out, because the one bit of information I forgot to mention is that when the guy came round to inspect the chairs, he actually found that one of the chairs wasn't broken. It was just a wire had become a bit dislodged. So he was able to fix that and get that up and running. So one of the chairs is now functioning properly.
It is, yes.
So it's only the other one that isn't working. And it sounds as if they're not going to, muck about. They're just going to completely replace it for you.
Right, yes.
Great. Well, that's fantastic.
They just replaced the motor, but now I had this email, as I say, on the 31st of the 3rd, and they say they've placed an order for a new chair.
Right. So who's going to get the new one then, you or your husband?
Oh, we'll fight over that when it comes.
Right.
And
okay.
Sir will.
Can you keep me in the loop? I mean, I'm going to give the company this. Oh, just a bit of the horn.
Yes.
Can you keep me in the loop and let me know when it turns up?
I tried to send you a copy of this email, but whether I did or not, I don't know.
I haven't seen it, but don't worry. As long as you've got it, that's the main thing. But just please let me know as soon as you hear any more and when you've got an exact delivery date, okay?
Right, thank you very much. Thank you for all your help. It's much appreciated.
Veronica, it's an absolute pleasure. I hope to hear more good news from you very soon. Christine came to me. She was telling me she wanted to send a bunch of flowers to her mum for Mother's Day. So she went online and she ordered these flowers from a company, well, more than 3 weeks ahead of the date. She thought everything was going to go to plan.
I spoke to my mum on Mother's Day and she mentioned nothing about the flowers. And then I was speaking to my sister who lives with my mum and said, oh, did Mum have a delivery? And Bessie was like, no, why? And I said, well, I obviously sent Mum something for Mother's Day. Yeah, I'm feeling really bad because obviously Mum's not had a Mother's Day present. I feel like I've let her down. She's saying I haven't because I ordered them.
The thought was there, but the flowers haven't arrived.
No, they have now.
Oh.
So last Thursday, I left them a voicemail that said, I'm really sorry. If you don't contact me back within a few hours' time, I've got no option but to go to Consumer Programme or the press or somebody. Friday morning, my sister went to take the dog for a walk, and there on the doorstep is a box of flowers from the company. Mum says she wouldn't have paid a fiver for them. They were all full, half dead in the box, no water, no tissue or anything round them. 6 days late.
Well, what's the company had to say? I'd love to be able to tell you. Trouble is, they have not taken my opportunities I've offered them to provide any kind of response whatsoever, and I gather I'm not alone in that. Christine's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Christine.
Morning, Jonathan.
Now, of course, there are lots of good, reputable, well-known florists, and many of them also have an internet presence. This particular company I'd never heard of before, but you came across them online. They are a company called Lovely Flora World. Their website is lovelyfloraworld.com. And as you would imagine, I've tried several times to make contact with them, to ask them why they firstly did not deliver the flowers when they were supposed to, and why when you complained they then sent a bunch of what looked like half-dead flowers, and why when you've tried to complain subsequently they haven't given you your money back. Unfortunately, they have not responded despite my attempts to make contact with them. And as I mentioned to you last time you were on the programme, if you have a little look around at Lovely Flora World, you will see that some of my colleagues at the BBC have also tried to make contact with them regarding other complaints that we have investigated, and they haven't responded to us there either. In fact, I'm looking at a BBC News article, Hundreds Disappointed by Mother's Day Bouquets. Hundreds of Mother's Day bouquets ordered online have either failed to turn up or been of very poor quality, the BBC has been told. This article then goes on to talk about this particular company and how people have been let down by them. So, where does that leave you? Well, it gives you one opportunity. Well, I say one. There are a couple of opportunities, but there's one very obvious opportunity, and that is for you to contact your bank and to try and do what is known as a chargeback through the bank, which is where you would contact them, explain the fact that the product hadn't turned up when it was supposed to turn up, and then when it had turned up it was of very poor quality. You've tried to communicate with the company and they haven't wanted to know. Now, you were going to go off and try that. Have you done that, and how did you get on, Christine?
I've done that. I've sent all the information that the bank wanted, so I sent an email, rang the bank. They said send an email to the Visa Disputes Department.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've then sent back all the information that they needed, and it said it'll take 2 to 4 weeks for them to make a decision.
Okay.
And we're just at the end of week 2.
Right. Okay.
At the moment, probably 10 days allowing for bank holidays.
Fingers crossed you will be successful.
Yes.
If you are not successful, then the only other thing you would be able to do, and this is why I mentioned there were 2 options, but one is easier than the other. The other option would be that you pursue Lovely Flora World through the Small Claims Court. However, we're talking about a relatively small amount of money for the flowers, and of course you should be aware that the whole thing could end up costing you more in terms of court fees to take them to court. So if you were to take them to court, it would probably be more of a principal issue rather than a financial issue. But it does seem completely unacceptable, as far as I'm concerned, that this company should be allowed to get away with selling you a bunch of flowers that firstly turned up very late, far too late, and when they did turn up were of such poor quality because half of them were dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not on. It's not on. And, you know, somebody has to stand up to them. And the fact they haven't even bothered to respond to me. And I would just urge everybody listening to the programme, do be careful. The internet is a wonderful thing. The internet opens up the world to us, a world of opportunities. But unfortunately, as with a world of opportunities that can be positive, there are also some negatives that you'll come across as well. And, I mean, this company, I presume, did they come up on a search that you did for online Mother's Day flowers or something like that?
Yeah,
Is
they
that
did.
Because had you ever heard of them before?
No.
No. So,
lesson learnt.
Well, listen, it is a bit of a lesson learnt, but we've all been there. You know, we've all gone online and looked at a deal that a company is offering online and thought, wow, that's good. That's a very good price. Or their website looks smart. That all looks... Yeah, I've never heard of them, but it all looks nice online. That must be okay. only to realise that actually we probably should have done some digging around. Although, to be fair to Lovely Flora World, and I don't know whether they just had a bad period of time over Mother's Day. There's no excuse for it. But if you look at them and look at the reviews for them, they're not the worst. I mean, I'm looking on, for example, Google reviews. They have 3.8 out of 5 stars. Well, in the grand scheme of things, that's not too bad, is it? I certainly come across a lot worse. But certainly do your homework, do your investigations before you start going ahead. And if you start coming up with, news website stories about how people have been let down, that should always be a bit of an alarm bell. Listen, Christine, please keep me posted as soon as the bank comes back to you, and we can decide whether you take things further at that point, or maybe there's no need. Marilyn ordered a new sofa back in January 2020. It finally arrived in June of last year, but it wasn't very long before things started to go wrong with it.
Probably after only a matter of weeks, maybe a couple of months at the most, I noticed the cushion on my husband's side starting to sink at the back. They're quite firm, comfortable cushions, that's why we chose it. So I told him to sit more in the centre of the cushion so it wouldn't sink, but obviously he was near the arm, so we both sat each end at the arm. Then I noticed mine was going as well, sinking in the same way. Started putting cushions underneath me to support me because I've had back problems on and off. Yeah, I contacted the company and they said, we'll get a technician round, an independent one, I think, to have a look. And he came and examined it and he said, well, there's no manufacturing fault. And I said, no, I can understand that, but there's obviously the cushions are inferior. And he sat on them and he said, yes, they're definitely sunk. You need to go back to the company. So I went back to the company and they said, well, as there's no manufacturing fault, if you have any cushions replaced, you'll have to pay for it.
Well, Marilyn didn't think that was very fair. And indeed, if you look at the Consumer Rights Act and you look at how you are protected as a customer when you purchase something from a British company, you should be entitled to expect that the product is fit for purpose, is of reasonable quality, and lasts for a reasonable amount of time. Now, the amount of money you spend on a product does, of course, come into that. If you've spent £5,000 on a sofa, it should be better quality and should last for longer than a £500 sofa. But even so, it should last for a reasonable amount of time. So this company suggesting that it was perfectly okay for the cushions to sink to this kind of extent and that there was no manufacturing defect with it. I mean, it sounds to me as if the defect is that the cushions aren't made of very good quality foam. They're made of cheap rubbish foam, which is why they've sunk so quickly. And that's not good enough. That's exactly what I went to explain to the company on Marilyn's behalf. She's back on the JVS show. Hello, Marilyn.
Hello, Jonathan.
Now, I've got to be honest, Marilyn, I was shocked and surprised when I came off air and started working on your case.
Yeah.
Because there are certain furniture companies, certain sofa-selling furniture companies that I'm quite used to dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And very often it's the same kind of issue, and I'm always banging on about this on the programme. You know, they got these lovely showrooms, they look all terribly nice in the showroom, and you sit on it, you think, oh, this is nice, and, you know, one of their consultants comes over and sits down and starts, you know, talking about what kind of sofa you want, then you buy it, and it's lovely, and it looks all nice in your living room, and then after a few months you think, oh, hang on, all the support's going out of this, the arm's starting to go all floppy, and because underneath a lot of this lovely looking furniture, it's a load of cheap junk.
Yep.
Badly made cheap junk that doesn't last very long. And in fact, I went into one particular furniture company and I was pleasantly surprised that the saleswoman, when I asked her the question, was quite honest with me. I said to her, I was looking at a corner sofa at the time, and it was about, well, I think it was about 1,300 quid, this corner sofa. So I'm not stupid. I know the level of quality I'm going to get from a leather corner sofa for 1,300 quid, i.e. not very good quality. But I thought, I'm going to try her out. So I said to her, how long would you expect this furniture to last? And she said, about 5 years.
Yeah.
She said, our furniture, you know, we'd kind of expect it to last for 5 years. Most people now, they get bored of furniture after that kind of period. They change their decor, they want to have a change. So, it lasts for about 5 years. Well, if you think about it, in the world of furniture, that's pretty rubbish, isn't it?
Yep.
I certainly would like my furniture to last considerably longer than 5 years, but she was very honest. She said about 5 years. Now, the reason why I was shocked when I started to work on your case is the company that you purchased this furniture from is not one of the usual suspects.
No.
It is a furniture company that I would have expected to sell very good quality furniture, probably more expensive than most other places. Yeah. And I did not expect that you would have had this kind of problem. When I phoned them up and I spoke to the lady, to be fair, answered the phone very quickly, I said, I'm quite surprised to be talking to you because you're not one of the companies I'm normally on the phone to. Yeah. So what's gone on here? It would appear Marilyn's got a sofa with cushions that are sinking. She said, OK, can you leave it with us and we'll try and get this sorted out. Now, I understand they got straight on the phone to you, Marilyn. What's been agreed?
They did. Well, he was waffling on for a long time saying that really they would expect the cushions. He said the furniture's not like it used to be and they'd expect the cushions to have gone like this. You know, if you keep sitting in the same favourite chair, it will happen. And I said, well, we've got another suite of yours we've had for 4 years and the cushions are in exactly the same condition as when we bought it. And, so he waffled on and he said, try banging the front. You should still try and dress it. I said, well, I can't move the cushions. They're fixed. We'll just bash the front and it'll put air into it, which is rubbish. Nothing happens when you bash the front. And basically he ended up saying, well, they will replace, they're happy to replace the cushions. It will take a long time for the man to be here. And I said, well, that's fine. You're going to put superior quality cushions in. He said, no, they'll be the same. So I said, so the same thing will happen, basically. And he said, well, probably, yes. And then anyway, in the end, he said, you either do that or you can go to the Furniture Ombudsman, which I just can't face doing.
OK, well, here's how we're going to deal with it. I think what you need to do now is to write them a letter.
OK.
There are certain times when a letter is necessary.
Yep.
A letter, and when I say a letter, I do mean a letter rather than an email.
Oh, absolutely. I was a secretary, so I'm quite used to writing.
OK, brilliant.
letters.
Well, I don't need to tell you then that when somebody receives a letter, in my opinion, it's more meaningful.
Has more impact, yeah.
It has much more impact because somebody has to go to quite a lot of effort to write a letter these days.
Yeah.
So I would write them a letter and I would say, following the conversation on such and such a date with so-and-so, I'm happy to accept the suggested solution to the problem I have with this sofa. And I'm happy to accept the replacement cushions. However, I would like to make it quite clear at this stage that I'm extremely disappointed in the experience that I've had so far, and I'm also somewhat sceptical as to whether this intended solution is actually going to be long-term.
I just say he suggested in an email to me that we alternate the seats to avoid the sinking.
Well, I mean, to an extent, I think there is an element of truth in what he's saying in terms of it's quite obvious. For example, the driver's seat of my car is the only seat that gets sat in.
Yep.
It's very rare that I have other people in my car. The back seats of my car have hardly ever been sat in.
Okay.
The back seats of my car are pristine, like a brand new car.
Yep.
The driver's seat of my car isn't. You can tell I've been sitting in it.
Yep.
So, it's not entirely unreasonable to say that if you are sitting in the same seat of furniture, you are going to get more wear and tear on that seat than you are with the other.
I understand, but apart from the fact that we've got this other suite that we both sit in the same chair every day and we have done for 4 years, and they're exactly the same, more or less, as when we purchased it.
Yeah, I do understand that. However,
it for a little bit of time,
Yeah, but I think, you have to recognise that if you are sitting on a seat and if you can't change the cushion, then it is going to feel a bit softer than the seat that you never sit on. However, it should still be within a reasonable tolerance, and that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's the fact that you believe the cushions are sinking in an unreasonable way in such a short amount of time. If they're like this now, what are they going to be like in a year's time?
Oh. Well, we're nearly on the floor.
Exactly. So that's the point. So I think back to this letter, I would just say to them, I'm happy to accept the solution. However, I'm not confident that it is going to resolve the issue long term. But if this is something that what I think you need to do in the letter is to make it quite clear that you're being wholly reasonable in giving them the opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's up to them whether or not they think this opportunity is actually going to be worth their while.
Yeah.
Because, if I was to receive that letter as the managing director of this company, I'm going to think, oh God, we've sold her a product that probably isn't very good quality. She's going to be back to us in 6 months' time, and she's going to be complaining again. Do you know what? Let's give her her money back, or give her the opportunity to replace the suite, because we're going to have a problem with this customer.
Well, yeah. I mean, he more or less said he expects the same thing to happen.
Right. Well, I definitely put it in writing, because that way you've got something to come back to. If in 6 months the cushions start to get soft and squishy again and you're falling into the floor, at that point you can refer back to your letter where you put them on notice that although you were very happy to give them the opportunity to repair it, you weren't confident that was going to solve the problem, and you reserved your right to come back to them again in the future. And that's exactly what you're now doing. Okay?
Yep, brilliant.
And I think it might also be worth putting at the end of the letter, and make sure you send the letter in a way that involves a signature at the other end, please.
Definitely.
But it may well be worth putting at the end of the letter that you reserve your right to reject the furniture in the future should this resolution not actually prove to be successful. Okay?
Right, yep.
We must leave it there, Marilyn.
Okay, that's fine.
Get that
Thank
letter.
you for your help and advice.
It's a pleasure. Please let me know what happens and when they're going to come and replace the sofa cushions, or whether they actually decide just to cut their losses now. Hello, Tyrone.
Hello, JBS.
Hi, I gather you've got a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
It all started in 2018, and it's concerning trees at the bottom of my garden.
Okay.
And what seems to happen is that they was overgrown. So I informed the local authority, and they came and done them within 2 weeks. In 2019, I got a delivery, a hand letter, saying that the trees had damaged the wall. So informed the local authority straight again. 2020, I got another letter saying that the wall had started falling down. Now, in 2021, one of the trees has fell in my next door neighbour's garden, and the other one's leaning.
Right, so, and I've just been sent some photos from my team here that I think you kindly forwarded over. The trees are on council-owned land, are they?
Yes.
Without identifying where you are or who the council is, what is the land on the other side then? Is it a car park, or is it a park, or what?
It's a car park which leads onto a housing association.
So why would the council be responsible for those trees rather than the housing association?
Because the trees are in my garden.
The trees are in your garden?
Yeah.
So they're your trees?
Well, I assume so, because at the bottom of my garden is a fence, and the trees are growing between them.
Right. And do you own your house?
No.
Right. Who owns your house? I don't identify them, but is it a local authority or a private landlord?
A local authority.
Okay. Okay, right. So you live in a local authority property. The local authority owns your house. The local authority owns those trees in your garden.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, I'm with you. And the local authority were alerted to the fact that the trees were becoming very big and unmanageable and were starting to cause problems to a wall that is the boundary wall for a housing association car park.
That's it.
Okay, fine, I'm with you. And when you say back in 2019 the council came and did some work to the trees, what did they actually do?
They got a machine out and skinned them back to take the branches away from the wall.
Right. And was it the branches that were causing the problem, or was it that the roots from the trees were loosening up the stability of the wall?
Yeah, I think it was the roots.
Right. Okay. So the course of action from the council in 2019 was just like sticking a tiny little plaster over a massive wound?
Yeah.
Okay, right. When did the wall fall down as a result of the trees?
In 2020.
Okay, and what did the council have to say when they were made aware of this?
Nothing. I haven't got nowhere. All I've done is put a plastic barrier in front of it.
I'm looking at these photos now. The plastic barrier looks to be in a car park. That's on the other side of the wall, is it?
Yep.
Right. And in terms of because what I'm looking at from the trees, there's a lot of ivy that's growing all around the trees, and the tree stumps that look as if they are almost kind of in the middle of what would have been the wall.
Yeah.
Do you have responsibility for anything to do with the garden, or is it all entirely down to the local authority?
Well, I do the garden, but the trees are that big.
Right, and it's nothing to do with the ivy that is all around those trees. I mean, there's great big, it looks like a kind of jungle.
Yeah.
Right, but is that anything to do with the trees or the ivy?
Well, it's the ivy that comes from the next door neighbours.
How do you know that? Because it all looks to be on your side at the moment.
Well, because the ivy comes from my next door neighbours through and then goes up the trees.
Okay. So the council, you've told them your trees have caused the wall to fall down. I presume the Housing Association are not very happy about it either. I presume they're talking to the council.
I don't know. I don't get anywhere. I keep on ringing, and they just give me a reference number. And they said they will be dealing with it.
But nothing's happened since last year?
No. I had somebody turn up to come and have a look at it. He had a look and says, "Oh, that's too big for me," and then he just went away.
Well, it does. It looks from the photographs like an arch. Do you mind if I share these photographs a little later on my Twitter, so people who've been listening to this can see what we're talking about? I mean, it looks to me as if you've got a very overgrown garden on the other side with trees that have got all, loads of ivy all growing around them. And it looks as if the trees need to be completely removed before the brick wall can then be rebuilt.
Yeah.
Right. So that is quite a big job, but it's not something the council have done.
No.
Okay. Well, I need to go and have a little word with them, don't I? Can you hang on there? I'm going to pass you back to Hannah. I need to speak to Hannah in just a second. So can you just hang on there and we'll get some detail. We'll go and have a word with the council and find out what they're doing, okay?
Okay, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Tara. Back in January, Kelly went to the park with her daughter. She went to the very same park the next day with her niece and nephew. And she thought nothing about it until this happened.
In February, I got a parking charge notice saying I was there for basically 20-odd hours. I rang them up as soon as it fell on my doorstep and said, how do I appeal it? And I explained, and the lady gave me the details. I appealed online and waited. It said they would get back to them in 14 days. With the current situation, COVID, etc., I thought it was a bit generous, 14 days, and left it because I thought, well, I wasn't there for that long, so they must be able to reject it. But then I had another notice fall on my doorstep in March, basically requesting the higher amount. I rang up and the lady told me that the previous one had been basically rejected, saying that they'd checked the footage and it wasn't a re-entry.
So it's very obvious what's happened. Kelly has driven her car into the car park. They've obviously got ANPR number plate recognition cameras at the entrance and the exit. And the cameras and the computer system that is connected to those cameras have recorded Kelly's number plate driving in, but for whatever reason did not record her number plate driving out the same day. So the computer system seems to be of the opinion that Kelly's car was just left in that car park overnight into the next day, which was against the regulations for that particular car park. Kelly's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Jonathan.
You did not leave your car in that car park.
I did not, no.
Nor would you have any reason to leave your car in that car park because you live 2 miles away.
That's
the car
correct.
park is not near a train station or anywhere that somebody might leave their car and then go away to do something for a period of time.
Definitely not.
The shops were closed at that time, so it's not even as if you might have left your car in there and gone off and done 20 hours of shopping.
No.
Why would your car have been left there? Now, the one thing I would just point out, and I don't know if this rings any bells.
Okay.
Be very careful. Whenever you drive into a car park that has these kinds of cameras, and a very obvious place that I should just point out to people, train station car parks. Mm-hmm. Train station car parks normally have these cameras at the entrance and the exit. Okay. When you are leaving a car park, make sure you allow plenty of room between your car and the car in front when you're leaving.
Okay.
Because if you're sitting in a kind of queue of traffic to get out, and if you're bumper to bumper, it may well be the camera that is there at the exit will not be able to see your number plate.
Right.
Now, I don't know if, thinking back, trying to rack your memory, do you remember if when you left the car park, were you behind another car?
I can't remember. I don't think it was that busy that day because it was a very cold day.
Well, it's just a bit of advice for other people. Just always recognise that you need to allow the camera to see your number plate as you leave, because otherwise it's going to think your car's still in there. Mm-hmm. Now, Hannah went off to have a word with the company. When we saw the name of the private parking company, to be honest, my heart sank, because last time we had dealings with this company, as I predicted on the programme yesterday, they weren't remotely interested. But thankfully, they were employed by a local authority. And Hannah, I gather the local authority has been more positive. What's going on?
That's right, yes. So we did go to the company initially, and they said there was absolutely no way that they could help us unless we were to write them a letter, which isn't very helpful. So I went to the council yesterday, and they've come back to me with this statement this morning saying, thank you for bringing this matter to our attention, which we immediately investigated with the parking management company. As a result of the investigation, the parking management company has rightly cancelled the parking charge notice, and we would like to apologise to Kelly for this error. They do say that the parking control measures are in place now in this car park because it's not occupied by many people, but there are offices nearby and they don't want workers using that car park for their sort of day-to-day working.
Right. OK, well, I mean, that's fine, and it's absolutely fine for them to manage their car park and to make sure that people aren't abusing it, but it's also only right and proper that if mistakes are made in the process of managing that car park, that they're rectified.
Absolutely.
And it's a great shame that the private parking company didn't appear to be remotely interested in doing so. Kelly, you're off the hook.
Brilliant. It's a shame it took so much effort to get there, but...
I tell you something, and this is something I did draw attention to yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We have a phenomenally low success rate with private parking companies.
Yep.
Because, as I mentioned on the programme yesterday, they don't care.
No, they don't.
They don't care whether you're unhappy with them. They don't care whether the BBC is unhappy with them. They don't care whether everybody listening to the BBC is unhappy with them, because they don't care about their reputation. Because they're a private parking company, and it doesn't matter what kind of reputation they have. It's all about finding people and making money out of people for parking their cars incorrectly.
It's terrible, really, isn't it?
Well, it is really. Your saving grace is that because the private parking company were employed by a local authority. The local authority, of course, is accountable to local people, and therefore their reputation is important. And I'm very pleased that they seem to have taken it very seriously and have got this particular matter resolved. Brilliant. You don't have anything to worry about. You don't need to worry about people knocking at your front door. If you do hear anything more, then please come back to us, but that should be an end to it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your help, Jonathan.
OK, thank you, Hannah,
thank you
for your work on that. And just another quick reminder, when you drive in and out of a car park with ANPR cameras, always make sure you leave enough room when you're leaving to make sure that the camera can see your number plate. And for that, local authority, thank you. In April 2018, Stephen spent £1,995 on 3 pieces of Italian leather furniture.
We got a footstool, a 3-seater and a power chair. That's the one I sit in, and that's one we've been having trouble with. After about 15 months, the colour has sort of started fading out of it. The cushion collapsed. So I went into the shop. I had to pay us £75 for their service guy to come out, which he did, and he came back and replaced the foam in the chair. This was back in August 2019. I had a small refund because of the colour faded out of it, which he said was due to my tablets, which I take tablets and that for diabetes and stuff and that. I got £100 back for that. They did say we could have got the money back for the whole suite, but I'm happy enough with the seat.
Can I ask a rather rude question, Stephen?
Yeah.
How much do you weigh?
I weigh 14.5 stone. And I double-checked that this morning. I thought you might ask me.
Well, he obviously wanted the company to resolve the matter. I just love Stephen's giggle. He's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Stephen.
Good afternoon, JVS.
Good afternoon. You've got a very infectious giggle, Steve. Now, as you know, I spoke to the company on your behalf. They are SCS. They came back, they said the customer contacted us in November 2019 regarding the chair interior. And as the original 12-month warranty had expired, the customer paid a call-out fee as per the terms and conditions for an inspection or report. The report concluded there to be a fault with the interior. This was replaced in March 2020 and the call-out fee was refunded. Well, they didn't actually, and they've subsequently apologised for that and have now refunded you. They went on to say, according to our records, we've had no further contact, but we will arrange for contact to be made to organise for a further inspection. As the replacement interior is within the 12-month warranty, this will be carried out free of charge. To cut a long story short, they refunded you the money for the initial inspection, thank goodness, at long last, and they also suggested that they were going to organise for the chair to be repaired. I gather things have happened since we last spoke, Steve. What's going on?
Well, I got the money refunded, as you rightly said. That was put back in my account on the 9th of March, the £75, and they've let me know that the items they're waiting for should be with them on the 12th of April.
Right.
That's the new foam.
Okay, so as soon as they've got the foam, they're going to be out to you and get it stuffed into your chair.
They are, hopefully, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are you sitting on in the meantime, or are you just kind of sitting on the uncomfortable chair, Steve?
At the moment, I have been, yeah.
Oh, dear.
At this moment in time, I'm out, hopping out. I'm actually out doing my little bit of fishing at the moment.
So the chair's getting a bit of a rest.
It is getting a bit of a rest at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, Steve, you do amuse me. Well, look, can you please keep me posted? Hopefully,
Jonathan.
On the 12th, they'll arrange to come out and to put this new foam into the chair, and we'll be able to give them the rest of their horn. Okay.
That's it. I'll let you know as soon as they've come out and sorted it, and it's back to square one, hopefully. You know.
Have you had any big catches this morning?
Yeah, I've had a few fish, but it's a little bit chilly out there at the moment, though. You know.
Do you have to chuck them back in, or are you going to eat them?
Yeah, we put them back. We put them back. Yeah.
There we go. Well, you're having fun. Steve, listen, I'll wait to hear from you, and I'll hope to hear from you with positive news next week.
Yeah, lovely. Much appreciated for all your help, Jonathan, and all your team. That's much appreciated.
Steve,
much appreciated, that is.
It's an absolute pleasure. Hello, Maureen.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Maureen. Tell me all about your problem, please, without naming any company names.
Okay, so just over 3 years ago, I bought a camera and 3 lenses. And this February, one of the lenses stopped working. I had a search online for possible causes and found several examples of other people where they've had the same problem with this lens.
What happens to the lens?
It's just stopped working. It doesn't basically speak to the camera at all. There's a blank screen. All the other lenses that I've got work perfectly fine with the camera, so I could rule out it being a...
I have to be honest, you're amusing me somewhat with this talk of a camera. I remember a few years ago, I bought a very nice camera. You know, one of these proper cameras, almost like a professional one.
Yeah.
I think I used it for about 3 months, and then my mobile phone became so advanced that, in fact, it took just as good photos as this very expensive posh camera. So it's sat in a cupboard ever since.
Oh,
so you're quite a quaint old-fashioned thing, still using a proper camera, aren't you?
Aren't I? Yes. Well, I'm a quaint old-fashioned thing.
So this lens that's broken, what makes the lens special?
This one is a zoom lens, and it also it flattens down quite. It's referred to as a pancake lens, so it flattens down so it doesn't stick out from the camera. If that makes sense.
So it's not a big long one.
No, It's not.
Right. Okay.
No.
I know exactly what you mean. And what do you use the camera for?
Well, that one I don't tend to.
I know that's a stupid question, by the way. I'm well aware you take photos with it. But I just wondered if this was just, a hobby or whether you're a professional.
Yeah, no, it is a hobby, yeah. I've got 3 lenses. I like taking pictures of birds and animals if I get the opportunity when I'm out for a walk. I'm not a serious photographer. But I tend to use the bigger lenses for that. This one I tend to use just around the house and in the garden. If I see something I want to take a picture of in the garden or, as I say, in the home. So it doesn't get taken out a lot.
I don't mean to be funny. Have you got a smartphone?
Yes.
And does it take good photos?
Yeah, it takes decent photos, yes.
So why do you need to have all... Because that's the thing. I mean, I can literally, on my smartphone I've got here, sitting next to me, I can take photos that are probably even better than I could take on this great big camera.
Yeah, I suppose it depends what you want to take a photograph. If you're out with your friends and you just want a record of when you're going out, then the smartphone's, yeah, I would never take my camera for that because it's too precious and I want to look after it. So I just use my smartphone for that sort of thing. Right. But if you're going to go out and perhaps want to zoom in closer, then take a fast picture of something that's moving, like a bird perhaps, then you probably need something a bit better.
Okay, so how much did you pay for this pancake lens?
I bought several things from the retailer at the time. I actually went into the shop to buy a new lens for my existing camera at the time, and I came out buying, he was very knowledgeable, very helpful, and I came out buying a new camera with 3 lenses and a new camera case, and the whole lot actually came to £1,275. To break it down, at the time the manufacturer were doing a special deal where if you bought the camera body, this pancake lens and another lens, it was £750.
Okay. So we're not quite sure how much the actual lens costs because it was all muddled up in the price.
Yeah, if you buy them new now, the 2 lenses that I got in with the camera, if you buy...
But do you not have a price for just the lens that's broken? Because there's no point working out the price of a lens that works.
Yeah, no, so saying the current manufacturer's retail price is £380.
Okay. Right. So, I mean, obviously you are, it sounds to me, the fact you're talking to me now, you're aware of the fact that you have some rights here.
Because I've listened to your programme. Yes.
Great. Okay. So when you purchased this camera with the lenses 3 years ago, at a cost of £1,275. So this is not some cheapy camera. Yeah. This is a reasonable quality camera.
I mean, that included, as I say, a 3rd lens and a camera bag.
Yeah. So you are entitled to expect that this camera and the lenses will last for a reasonable amount of time. Now, your argument is obviously that one of the lenses has failed in an unreasonably short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I presume, has the retailer said to you, the manufacturer's warranty's run out now, there's nothing we can do?
Is exactly what he said, yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's very often what retailers say. Have you stressed to that retailer that that's not what the Consumer Rights Act of 2015 states?
That's exactly what I've said to him on more than one occasion. He says I'm the first person that's ever said that to him.
Okay, well, maybe you're the first customer that's been informed.
Yes.
So has he gone away and informed himself and then come back and said, OK, I recognise I have got a responsibility to you, or what?
No, he hasn't. The most that he would offer a small amount, and it was a small amount, off the retail price of another lens. He was suggesting another lens, which is a fixed lens that doesn't have the moving parts, because I expressed that I didn't want to pay... because he's had his repairer look at it.
Okay.
And it's come back too costly to repair.
Okay. So if it's come back too costly to repair, then what he then needs to be doing is he needs to be working out what is a fair and reasonable settlement.
Yeah.
Now, if you're telling me that the lens would cost about £380 to replace...
Yeah.
Then obviously you've had 3 years use from it. How long typically would you expect a camera lens of this quality to last for?
Yes, I don't know.
I don't know either.
No, I mean, it's a good make, so it should have, that's something I'd like your opinion on.
Let's work on 6 years.
Yeah.
Let's work on 6 years. So if we take the £380 divided by 6, we get a total of £63.33 per year. If we times that by 3, you've had £190 worth of use from the product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if we then take the £380 that it would cost you to replace it, we discount the use that you've had from it, it gives you an amount of £190 towards the cost of a replacement or as a settlement for the life of the camera that you have not yet been able, the camera lens that you have not been able to enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's what he needs to be thinking about. Has he offered you anything at all?
He is. I mean, I was suggesting to him less than that, much less than that. But the most he was prepared to do for me was because he came up with a suggestion of me, because I said I wasn't happy paying out £380 for the same lens. So his suggestions was that I went for a fixed lens instead, which would be less expensive, of £280.
Yeah, but is that less expensive because it's not as good?
Well, he explained that it was that the quality of the lenses in it were better.
Okay.
But because it doesn't have the moving parts, there's not the technology that you're paying for.
Okay.
That was his
So
suggestion.
he seems to think that would be a good solution for
Yes,
you.
the thing
And
is-
how much was that going to cost?
So that was £280.
And how much was he prepared to contribute towards that?
He was prepared to give, let me have it to £260.
What,
plus
20
my-
quid off?
Yeah, plus my £10 repair fee back. Because
So he
I'd
charged
saved-
you for looking at it?
Yeah, £10, yeah.
Well, just out of interest, when the guy who looked at it as the repairer, what did he conclude was wrong with it?
He just, when I asked what was wrong with it, the report, he got his paperwork out and he said, and it just said, too costly to repair.
Well, we need to really know what's wrong with it, because...
Yes, I would have liked to have known, yeah.
I mean, if, for example, let's just look at this from a slightly different perspective. If when the repairer looked at the lens, there was evidence that it had been dropped on the floor, and there was something that was chipped or broken on it, then the company doesn't have to do anything at all.
Yeah.
They could turn around and say to you, you've clearly dropped this camera lens while you're getting it out of the bag. It's your fault. We're not going to do anything. If, however, the lens has broken because a component within it has failed for a manufacturing reason rather than a user-related reason, then the company are absolutely liable for making a fair and reasonable offer to you. And I don't consider 20 quid plus the £10 off for having a look at it to establish that it's nothing to do with you is fair.
Yeah, I could buy the lens, this £280 lens, if that's is the best way to go. From other well-known retailers, for £229.
Okay. Well, I need to go and have a little word with this man, and I need to find out what's gone on. And I think one of the first questions I need to ask is, when the repairer looks at the camera lens, what did he or she find was wrong with it?
Yes, I was disappointed that he didn't come back with that, because, I mean, I have looked at it very well, as I say.
Well, to be honest, you'd be a bit of a twerp if you'd dropped the camera lens and you damaged it and were now trying to get a free lens or a free repair or whatever out of the retailer, because, you're on a hiding to nothing there. However, if you know, and it sounds to me from what you're saying, is if you know wholeheartedly that you've looked after that camera lens, then there's no reason why it should have failed, and it's simply unacceptable that after 3 years' use it stopped working. It's not okay. It was a lot of money in the first place, and it's not okay that it stopped working. And the retailer, whether he likes it or not, unfortunately, he's the one that sold you this. He sold you a product that's clearly not of reasonable quality. End of story.
Yeah.
Leave it with us. What I'll do, I'll pass you back to the team. We'll get some detail, Maureen, and I'll contact this guy this afternoon for you.
Yeah, okay. I've sent quite a a detailed email and also the emails corresponding with him and my receipt and everything to your colleagues. So.
I hope I won't need all that. I hope that this will just be a case of explaining the basics and just pointing out his obligation. And it may well be that what I will advise him to do is to go away and seek some legal advice just to make sure that he understands what his obligation to you is.
Yeah,
leave it with us.
I don't want to be unfair to him, and as you say, and I said to him, I've had just over 3 years use out of this camera. I'm certainly not expecting him to give me a replacement.
You are aware the relationship between you and this camera shop may well deteriorate somewhat after my conversation with him.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that does often happen. Just so I manage your expectation, chances are when I go and speak to this man, I'm gonna be fairly blunt and fairly direct.
Yeah,
he might go off you a bit afterwards, is what I'm saying, Maureen.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I did sort of explain that as we couldn't sort of come to an amicable agreement, I'd probably have to get somebody else.
I'm just warning you because you sound like a very nice, gentle person.
Thank you.
I'm not so nice or gentle when I'm on the phone to companies. I'm more direct and blunt. But leave it with me. Maureen, I will go and have a word with them this afternoon. We'll take it from there.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
Dawn came to me regarding the new bed she bought for her 12-year-old greyhound called Max. He started to look a bit uncomfortable when he was walking. So Dawn took him to the vets.
He was diagnosed with arthritis of the hip. So we decided to buy him a nice new calming bed, which apparently helped them with their arthritis and made them more comfortable in the evenings. He now can't sleep in my bedroom with me. He can't get up the stairs. We thought we'd treat him after his diagnosis of, not being well and being on painkiller for the rest of his life. I've sent numerous emails asking where my bed is, what's happening. They can either give me a definite delivery date, or refund my money, and I've still not got anything.
Yes, well, Dawn's £25.90 out of pocket. She's not happy. Now, the one thing I would just say to everybody listening to the programme, please be very aware of adverts you see on social media and on the internet showing all kinds of wonderful stuff. Do your homework. Make sure you are buying the product from a reputable British retailer that will have to comply with the Consumer Rights Act of 2015, with other legislation on the internet, such as the Consumer Contracts Regulations. You need to make sure that you're buying from British companies. There are all kinds of companies that will pop up on your social media from abroad, selling you all kinds of stuff. Just be aware, if things go wrong, you may well have a bit of a battle on your hands. And I sense that's exactly the position Dawn finds herself in. Dawn's back on the JVS show. Hello, Dawn.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, yes, I'm fine, thank you. Do we actually know which country this dog bed was coming from?
No idea at all.
Right. But it certainly hasn't materialised. Now, look, we could spend the rest of our lives trying to track down which particular person is selling a whole load of cheap dog beds from their bedroom in, Lithuania or Romania or the United States or China or wherever, and we could try and speak to that person and hope that when they receive a phone call from the BBC, they decide to offer you all of your money back. Or we could just cut our losses and utilise the rights that we do have as UK consumers that pay by card, and we could just go and contact our bank and do a chargeback because the product hasn't arrived. And that's exactly what I told you to do. I said, go get a call into your bank, explain the situation, explain that this £25.90 dog bed has not arrived. Can they please do a chargeback for you? And you were going off to do that. How did you get on, Dawn?
They've actually given me the chargeback and it's in my bank.
Brilliant.
With no problems at all. I received a letter yesterday saying they're investigating what's happening and what's happened.
Yeah.
So, I'm very happy. Max hasn't got a new bed yet, which we're going to rectify. We're going to a well-known pet shop and buy him one there.
Well, at least if you go to a well-known pet shop in this country, if you have any problems with it, and if after a few weeks the whole thing starts to fall apart, you know where you can go back to, and you know that if they then don't sort it out, you know you can take them to the small claims court.
Yeah, exactly.
The point I was making earlier is if you buy stuff off the internet from some company based in God knows where, if you have problems down the line, what are you going to do about it? You might have a real battle on your hands, as is so often the case, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's a lesson learnt now.
It is. And I'm very...
Thank you for helping get my money back.
It's a pleasure, and I'm very grateful to you for coming to the programme, because we get calls like this all the time, Dawn. All the time. People say, I was on Facebook and an advert came up and I saw it and it looked really nice, so I ordered it. And, you think, well, where is the company based that's just this advert's popped up on Facebook? Where? Well, I don't really know. I mean, it was for sale in $, and you think, well, we've got to be, as consumers... We've got to move with the times, and we've got to recognise that, particularly with social media, a lot of companies from elsewhere are targeting us to sell their stuff.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm really pleased with the way our bank reacted.
I'm delighted as well.
There was no question. I explained it to them, and they was going off to investigate, and within a couple of days, the money was back in the account.
Brilliant. Well done.
So thank you for your advice. I'm
going to thank your bank, and I'm going to give your bank the horn for getting you out of this pickle. Any other problems, you know where we are. Yeah. Now, Vanessa was having a lot of work done in her garden. New decking, a nice new patio, and some play bark for her son's play area.
The play bark was delivered in December, mid-December. And I hadn't really been out in the garden until the end of February. And when I was looking at it, this rubber play bark, it's red in colour, so it comes in different colours. Well, ours was like a burgundy red colour. And I noticed white patches all over the top surface of this play bark. And I thought initially that it was, birds had gone over and made a bit of a mess.
Pooped on it, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But when I looked at it closely, it's not that, because it's just affecting each piece of, little pieces of paper, and it's just going white all around the edges, all on the top surface.
Well, Vanessa got in touch with the company that she bought this stuff from, and she asked them what was going on. They said, can you send us some photos? Vanessa did that. The company then apologised and offered her a discount off a future purchase. But she wasn't happy with that, because she felt as if this play bark should last for at least 8 years. She'd only had it down for a few months, and she wasn't happy with the fact that it's all discolouring. Well, I shared a photo, and in fact I've just retweeted the photo for anyone that's just tuned into this story fresh today. If you go onto my Twitter page, if you go to the official JVS on Twitter, you can have a little look at this play bark. It looks on closer inspection as if it is shredded rubber tyres. And it's kind of dyed a purpley aubergine colour, and yet you can see round the edges a lot of it is turning white. Now, what would be causing that? Is it some kind of fungus? Or is it, as many of you were suggesting the other day when you had a look at the photos, that actually the natural colour of the rubber is starting to come through? I didn't realise until the other day that car tyres, the rubber used in car tyres, is not black. It's white. And they dye it black, because obviously white car tyres wouldn't be terribly practical. So it may well be that the natural colour of the rubber is just starting to show through. But Vanessa says, well, that's not good enough. It hasn't been dyed properly then, because in the same way you don't expect your car tyres to start turning white, I didn't expect my purple play bark to start turning white either. Vanessa's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello.
Hello. Right, I've been off to have a word with the company and to find out what they have to say for themselves. The company concerned is called Safety Play. And they came back with this. They said, we at Safety Play pride ourselves on our products and our customer service levels. We have kindly explained to Vanessa that she had placed an order on the 27th of November 2020, and our returns policy, if not satisfied, is to return the product back to us within 14 days, which was then extended to 30 days due to COVID. In this instance, we are more than happy to make an exception to investigate the issue with the product and to issue the customer with a refund. Now that sounds good, doesn't it, Vanessa?
That sounds amazing, yeah.
There's a but, and it's quite a big but. They say, we do require the product to be sent back to us in the original packaging to investigate the issue further. Please note the material is a recycled rubber aggregate made from recycled car tyres. The product is coloured in batches, and having traced the batch report for this particular consignment, there appeared to be no issues noted and no further instances of complaints from other customers. Lastly, we had already issued the customer with a £50 refund on this order on the 7th of December, due to a slight delivery delay, again due to COVID. If the customer is able to repackage the product onto a pallet and return it to us, then we will issue a refund upon investigation. I trust this is an amicable arrangement. So they have said they are happy to take the product back and to give you a refund, but they want you to shovel the whole lot back up, put it back in the original packaging, put it on a pallet, and get it back to them.
Right, okay. I mean, that's going to be a challenge. To put it mildly.
Well,
I mean, I don't think it came in any particular packaging. I think it came in two heavy bags with a crane that came along and delivered it. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be reasonable for them to argue that it should definitely be returned in the original packaging. The problem. What to do about that. Well, no, I mean, the problem is, I mean, you've now spread this play bark all over your play area.
Yeah.
The ability to shovel it all up and put it in some kind of package and send it all the way back to them, for them to then give you a refund, is going to be fairly problematic, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think that's putting it mildly, yeah.
Even beyond worth bothering with, I would suggest. So what alternatives do you have? Well, I mean, they talk about their own internal policy, and that's absolutely fine. They can have a policy where they offer people 14 days when they receive a product. If they decide for whatever reason they're not happy with it, they want to send it back. They talk about that being their policy. I mean, if they are selling stuff over the internet, that would actually be part of their obligation under the consumer contracts regulations, because you must allow, if you're buying something from the internet or from a mail order company, then you must allow people that 14-day window when they actually get to see the product in the flesh, as it were. They're given 14 days to return the product if for whatever reason they change their mind. So that's really set out in legislation anyway. It doesn't mean just because they are talking about that policy that you don't still have the right to return a product that is faulty and to ask for your money back. The problem is, how would you argue that this product is faulty? You would, I guess, have to have your own independent report carried out on the rubber.
Yeah. I wouldn't even know where to go to actually get that. I have no idea who I'd ask.
What would you like? Because, I mean, obviously you've got the stuff down. To start shoveling up 2 massive, great big bags full of rubber play bark is just going to take you forever. It's going to be a whole load of hassle. And I just don't know whether it's worth it. But what would you like then? Because, I mean, it is what it is now. It's down in your garden. It is discolouring. The chances are it may well discolour more. What do you want? Do you want to replace it, or are you actually hoping that what they'll do is give you more of a discount off the price that you paid for the product in the first place?
Well, that was one option, a discount, because obviously there's something gone wrong. Ultimately, I mean, we was happy to pay the price. I would have liked to have known why it's done this. Is this normal? They haven't really explained that. They say, you say in their reply that they pride themselves on the quality of their product. So if that's the case, then why is this happening to my play bark? But I don't know that I would be able to return it. So I don't know what to do, really.
What I think maybe we can suggest happens then. If I go back to them and say, look, we recognise your offer of refunding for the product if the product is returned to you. However, please be aware of the reality of the situation. Because the playbark was purchased now a number of months ago, of course it is in Vanessa's garden. It is there on the ground and has been for a couple of months. Vanessa argues that it is not performing as it should do, and she's entitled to expect it to, under the Consumer Rights Act of 2015, because it's discolouring in a short amount of time. What she's prepared to do, rather than shoveling out the whole lot and sending it back to you at huge expense, is to send you some pieces of the rubber that are discolouring for you to inspect and to assess and to provide an explanation as to why the colour is disappearing. How about we try that?
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable response. I just didn't know if I was to go to someone else independent where I'd go to get that or what.
No, well, I don't know either. I mean, discolouring rubber, you'll have to forgive me, is in the many, many years I've been dealing with consumer problems, it's not something I've dealt with very often. In fact, I believe your rubber playbark is the first rubber playbark I've ever dealt with.
You're welcome.
So, I mean, I think what we do then is we say that you'll send up some pieces of the discoloured rubber playbark, you'll shove it in an envelope and send it to them, and we await their explanation as to why it's discolouring. And if they recognise that it is discolouring when it shouldn't be, can they offer a more suitable solution than you having to shovel up 2-ton bags of rubber playbark and organising for a pallet to be delivered and for the whole lot to be sent back? There must be a more reasonable solution.
Yeah.
Let's put the ball back in their court and see what they want to do, because, I mean, otherwise, so to be honest, you might as well start shoveling now, to be honest, Vanessa. You'll still be at it at Christmas.
I'll have to get my little boy to help me out.
I was going to say, absolutely. Right, well, listen, Vanessa, we'll talk to you very soon. I will get back in touch with them this afternoon for you, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Barry bought an extendable dining room table in May of last year. This table seats up to 8 people. It cost £1,200. It has a very smart graphite top. But at the beginning of August last year, Barry's wife spotted a problem.
4 weeks ago now, I come home from work and my wife approached and said, "Look, you seen this?" I said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, come and have a look. In one of the sections of the dining room table, there's a split." And I said, "Well, how's that happen?" She said, "Well, I don't know." Spoke to the daughters and they said, "There's no idea how it's got there." We don't know how it's happened. Yeah, it's just a big split down one of the sections of the extendable part of the table. So I rung the branch and they said, "Do you mind if you come and have a look?" I said, "Not a problem, of course not." So he come out, he inspected it. He couldn't work out what happened. I said, "Well, to be honest, we don't know how it's happened." Took some photographs. He said, "I'll obviously get in touch with the supplier and I'll let you know." And he said to me, "Oh, it's not a manufacturing defect. The supplier agrees with me and you have to go through your protection plans."
Well, I went off to have a word with the retailer on Barry's behalf, and it was agreed that that would not happen. In fact, the company was going to organise with their supplier to send out a replacement tabletop. But that tabletop was coming from elsewhere in the world, and it was quite delayed. So poor old Barry had to wait quite some time before the replacement tabletop, the non-cracked tabletop, turned up at his property. Well, it did finally turn up this year, but then there was a problem in a very short space of time. Barry's back on the JVS show. Hello, Barry.
Good morning, Jonathan.
This table is just jinxed, really, isn't it? It's been a problem from the start. When the new tabletop arrived, you were saying, you thought, "Oh, yeah, good, looks nice, looks fine." You were enjoying it. How long was it before a corner of it fell off?
About 5 days.
Yeah. A corner of the graphite kind of just fell off and left quite a sharp edge to it that then cut your wife's hand.
That's correct, yeah.
You weren't happy about this at all. I went back to Furniture Village. Furniture Village is the retailer that you purchased this furniture from in the first place, and I explained all of this. I explained the latest. I'm quite sure they kind of held their head in their hands as well and thought, "Oh, God, what's going on here?" They have come back to suggest that there is now another solution, forgive the pun, on the table for you. What's the latest? What have they offered you now?
Yes, just not long after I spoke to you, I got a phone call from one of the chaps who I've been dealing with, and basically I sent an email saying basically lost complete faith in the table. I'd rather either exchange it for something else in your range if you have something, or a full refund. And he obviously responded, rang me up and said, yeah, whichever you want, obviously we'll do. So if you want a full refund, that's not a problem. We'll obviously give you a full refund, come and collect the table, or if you want to exchange it, the shops are open on the 12th of April, and you're more than welcome to come over and choose another table. So I said at the moment we'll obviously want to exchange. Hopefully we'll exchange if there's something in your range that we like, and obviously it goes in with our kitchen. So hopefully next weekend we plan to visit the branch and have a look at their range of dining room tables.
The response that they've sent to me in this programme, and this is from Furniture Village, they say, once again, we apologise to Barry for the ongoing issues with his table. The customer has been in touch with the store and a resolution has been put in place. We've agreed that Barry will select an alternative table and that he would like to do so once the stores reopen. A manager will contact him as soon as they do open to arrange an appointment. We were not aware that Barry's wife had cut her hand, but we are very sorry to hear this, they say.
Yeah.
So the shop, I presume, Furniture Village, I'm guessing, they reopen on Monday, do they?
That's correct, yeah, but both me and my wife are working all next week, so we plan to go down there, hopefully the weekend. I did say to the chap that obviously we'll ring ahead to make sure, obviously, everything's in place. And then we'll obviously have a look. Obviously, it's going to be quite a detailed, I think, look, because obviously we've learned quite a lot from this table we've got here, so we'll probably look at the sort of like the tabletop itself in more detail and try and find out where it's manufactured, if we possibly could do that. So obviously we don't go through this again, and hopefully we can replace this table and everyone's happy and we can all move on with everything.
The table at the moment is, I presume, still in your kitchen?
That's correct, yes.
And how are you managing to use it with this sharp corner where the chunk fell off?
We all know it's there now, so obviously when we're wiping down that part of the table, obviously we'd be careful with that sort of thing. What I'll do, I'm going to sellotape the big, because he said when we put the bits back on that corner, you can't see it. There's even a crack there. It's such unusual sort of. You can see the glue in the back of the graphite and everything. It's quite it's very unusual. But I think this, as I say, I think this table we've been jinxed with it, I'm afraid.
And what? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound as if it's gone very smoothly at all, does it? Really? So, are you going to go for? And I'm kind of hoping you're going to say yes to this. Are you going to go for a traditional product like wood?
Yes, I think that's the way we're going to look at going. As I say, we're going to have, as I say, it'll be a more detailed sort of look, so we don't want to end up in the same position again, and obviously carry on this for a lot ages and ages. But obviously, this isn't going to resolve itself very quickly. Obviously, we've got to order it and obviously wait for that to be delivered. So I think we've got another 3 to 4 months. Obviously, wait before obviously we can give Furniture Village the horn. But as I said, I'm quite happy to go to the store, look at their ranges they've got, and ask a lot more questions than we would normally look, because obviously aesthetically this table is say where it's designed, it just goes with our kitchen perfectly, and it's quite a shame. I'm pretty gutted about it, to be honest with you, because it's a lovely looking table. It's a shame. Yeah,
but you don't want cracks forming in it, and you don't want chunks of it falling off. Once that starts to happen, it becomes a little less attractive, really, doesn't it?
Correct, yes. So.
But I completely understand and recognise the frustration that when you've found something that you think looks really nice, it's just annoying when it just for whatever reason will not work out for you. But there we go. Well, listen, Barry, can you please keep me in the loop and let me know what happens when you go in and reselect? Hopefully there'll be something else that you think, do you know what, this will look really nice as well. Yeah. And let's hope that it's a bit more straightforward. Let's hope that it hasn't got to come from Timbuktu or wherever before it comes into the country, because that's the other slight problem. You know, you don't want to be left now waiting for months and months and months this year before the replacement table turns up. So let's just hope that they've got something for sale, preferably that's made in Britain, that will arrive very shortly at your property.
That would be nice.
It would, absolutely. Barry, listen, good luck, and keep away from the sharp edge in the meantime.